Hey guys, tonight we dive into a world where snow never melts, fire is more precious than gold, and kids grow up swinging axes before they lose their baby teeth. Imagine this. You're wrapped in fur but your toes still feel like they might snap off. There's ice forming on your eyelashes. The sun is basically on vacation and the only warmth comes from a smoky hearth you're expected to stoke yourself. Welcome to a Viking winter. Not just any winter. Those bone-cracking, breath-stealing winters that drop to minus 40 degrees Celsius. You probably won't survive this. But then again, you're not a Viking child. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to hear where you're listening from and what time it is. There, drop it in the comments. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake in darkness. Not night, morning. But the sun doesn't care about this part of the world until almost noon. The air bites at your face the second you push your wool blanket aside. Your breath fogs like a dragon's. You don't want to leave the furs, but nature doesn't negotiate. The family longhouse is a single narrow room with packed earth floors, timber walls, and a roof puffing smoke from a central hole. Heat lives here like a shy animal, only near the hearth, and only when someone's feeding it. Your bed? Not so. Much a bed as a shared wooden bench lined with hay, sheep pelts, and the warm and slightly fragrant body of your little brother, who's hogging all the warmth as usual. You jab him with a knee. He growls like a tiny berserker. There's no such thing as privacy here. You, your siblings, your parents, and maybe even an elderly aunt or two all sleep within arm's reach. If you're lucky, the goats and chickens have their own corner. If you're unlucky, one of them slept next to your head and has decided your braid looks edible. You roll off the bench, feet hitting the icy floor like a slap from Thor himself. One step, and you're awake whether you want to be or not. There's frost on the inside of the walls. Sometimes it even forms on your eyebrows while you sleep. The cold is not an event. It's a character in your story. It lingers, it challenges, it bullies. The hearth is low, smoldering under a thick crust of ash. You, the early riser today, are expected to coax it back to life. You kneel beside it, whispering as you blow into the coals, like casting a spell. A few sparks dance up. Success. You feed it kindling, small twigs stored in a leather pouch to keep them dry, and then a thicker branch. The smoke snakes upward into the rafters, hesitating before it exits through the smoke hole. Sometimes it just stays, swirling around your head like it has nowhere better to be. Fire is survival. Without it, the entire family could freeze before the sun crests the horizon. This fact isn't dramatic. It's just breakfast-level obvious, and speaking of breakfast, you're already hungry. But food comes later. First, warmth. You wrap yourself in a wool tunic, rough against your skin. It doesn't matter, it's dry, and in this climate, dry is luxurious. Over that goes a second tunic, then a belt, and over that, fur. Anything from reindeer to rabbit. You slide into boots lined with straw or dry moss, replaced daily. Sometimes your feet stay warm, sometimes they just go numb. You get used to not feeling your toes. A historical fun fact you don't know you're living. Archaeologists have found Viking children's shoes stuffed with grass insulation. Stylish? No. Effective? Kind of. Your mother grunts from under her furs. She's already awake but pretending she's not, hoping someone else deals with the fire. She sees you managed it. Nods. You've earned an invisible point. Outside, the wind howls like it's trying to peel the roof off. The door's just a wooden slab, fur-lined and heavy. You push it open and are greeted with a slap of Arctic air and a landscape carved from ice. Snowdrifts block most paths. The trees wear white coats. Somewhere, something is already moving. A fox, maybe, or a rival child sneaking off with your sled again. Historians still argue whether Norse families kept the livestock indoors all winter, or just during the harshest storms. Your family definitely does, at least when things get extra grim. Goat hooves clatter on the floor behind you. One of them bleats, loudly. Rude. You trudge through snow taller than your knees to fetch water. Yesterday's supply froze solid overnight. The ice on the lake is thick enough to support a sled team. You chop through the crust with a short-handled axe, muscles stiff in the cold. Every task takes longer in this weather. Every breath steams like soup. You scoop the water with a wooden bucket, splashing some on your hands. The pain is instant, sharp. You curse under your breath because if your mother hears, she'll make you chew soap root. Back inside, the fire's grown. Its light dances on the wooden beams. Your baby sister is awake now, sucking frost off her thumb and scowling at everyone. The room smells of smoke, hay, damp wool, and breakfast, if there is any. You hand over the water. You're still half frozen, and the day hasn't even properly begun, but you survived the night. Again, a fringe Viking survival theory you overheard, once from a wandering storyteller. Some believed babies born in winter were stronger, more blessed by the gods. You're not sure if it's true, but you were born during a snowstorm, and you've never cried from the cold. Not once. Okay, maybe once. But no one saw. You wrap your half-frozen fingers around a clay cup. Inside, something vaguely warm. Yesterday's goat milk, reheated and a little smoky from the fire. You slurp it fast, partly to warm your mouth, partly because your brother is eyeing your cup like he's already planning a sneak attack. Breakfast, such as it is, will come later. Some leftover porridge if you're lucky. Maybe a sliver of smoked fish or a heel of barley bread so dry it could be used as a weapon. But before that, it's time for layers. Not the stylish influencer kind. We're talking the itchy, homespun, sneeze-inducing kind. You reach for your outer tunic. It's thick, scratchy wool that smells like the sheep it came from. You'd complain, but that same wool might just save your fingers from turning black and falling off. Underneath, you've got a linen shift, already damp from yesterday's snow, but it's better than nothing. Your feet go into boots again, this time packed with fresh moss. If it's too wet, you'll get trench foot. If it's too dry, you'll crack open your heel on the ice. Balance. Then comes the fur cloak. Yours was made from fox hide, patched with squirrel. It used to belong to your cousin. Then he outgrew it or didn't survive the last flu. No one really says. You pull it tight and tie it with a leather cord. The wind whines through the cracks in the longhouse, and you swear it's targeting your neck on purpose. You tug up your hood. You sniff. And there it is again. The Viking version of a winter perfume. A beautiful blend of sheep, smoke, wet hay, and your own skin after a week without a real wash. You'd laugh, but you can't feel your nose. Now the real fun begins. Chores. Your father is outside, axe over one shoulder, chopping firewood that steams as it splits. You watch the flakes burst off the logs like feathers. He doesn't talk much. None of the adults do in the early hours. Their breath is better spent on not freezing. You join your older sister near the animal pens. They're just wooden enclosures with low walls and piled straw. Your job? Scrape out the old straw, add new, refill the feed, and check water levels. Simple, in theory. In reality, the water's frozen. Again, you sigh. Back to the fire with the buckets to thaw them. Again, you yank a half-frozen chicken off the roosting bar. It glares at you. You glare back. Mutual loathing. But at least it's warmish. Quirky tidbit of the day. Some Viking children used to sleep with goats to stay warm. Not beside them. Literally under the same blankets. If you think that's gross, consider the alternative. Frostbite. Or death. So, yeah, goat cuddles it is. You're halfway through cleaning when your little brother starts yelling about ice demons in the snow pile. That's your cue to stop what you're doing and investigate. Of course, it's just frost sticking to a stick. But you grab the stick and wave it around dramatically anyway. Every day needs a little drama. You finally get back inside, arms red, legs stiff, nose dripping. And here's the thing. Nobody's going to hand you a towel. There are no fluffy bathrobes. No cocoa. You wipe your nose with your sleeve, stretch out your fingers near the fire, and brace yourself for the next round. This is winter. Not as a vibe, not as a seasonal depression meme, but as a full-time job you didn't apply for. Historians still argue whether Viking kids were toughened up through chores or simply thrown into the deep end and expected to adapt. Either way, by the time you're old enough to walk without falling, you're expected to help the family survive. You've got friends down the hill, other kids your age. One of them lost a few toes last winter. He walks funny now but says he doesn't miss them. Less to freeze, he claims. That's Viking optimism. Sometimes you envy him. Not the missing toes, just the boldness to laugh about them. You finish with the animals and return to the fire just in time for breakfast. It's a gray lump of barley mash hardened at the edges from reheating. You dunk it in the milk cup, soften it a bit, chew slowly. It sticks to your teeth. You eat in silence, surrounded by the sounds of boots stomping, sniffling noses, and crackling. Fire. Your sister picks at her nails with a bone knife. Your baby brother sings some nonsense about an elk. You start to feel your hands again. After eating, you help sew a tear in your mittens. They're made from stitched animal gut, waterproofish but delicate. You patch them with deer tendon thread. It takes ages, and your needle keeps slipping. You wish you could just buy a new pair. But Viking shops aren't a thing, and Amazon won't deliver here until never. You yawn, but it's only mid-morning and you've got a long day of not dying ahead. At least the sun's thinking about showing up. A faint smear of gray rises behind the snow-covered trees. It's not warm, not even bright, but it's something. A small reminder that the world still turns. You stare at the smoke curling toward the ceiling. Your breath still fogs in front of you. Your face is chapped, but you're up, dressed, fed, and functional. That makes you the picture of Viking success. And tomorrow, you'll do it all again. The fire crackles low as you stomp your boots near the hearth, trying to shake off the last of the frost. Your cheeks sting, not from slaps or scolding, but from the simple act of existing outside. The cold in a Viking winter doesn't just greet you. It punches you in the face and asks what you're going to do about it. You glance at the hearth. This thing isn't a decorative fireplace like in those fancy modern homes. It's your family's anchor to life. It's the reason your toes still exist and your porridge didn't turn into a snowball. It sits in the center of the longhouse, built into a shallow, stone-lined pit. Ash piles up like lazy snowdrifts, and you know better than to sweep them away. Ashes trap heat, and heat is sacred. Today, it's your turn to feed it. Again. Fire doesn't care that you already did it yesterday, or that you're tired, or that you'd rather be outside pelting snow at your cousin. The fire must live, or none of you will. You crouch and blow gently into the coals. A glow pulses in response. Good. You drop in slivers of dry pine and twigs. They catch quickly. Then come the small logs, then the larger ones. The smoke curls up, always escaping the way it wants. Sometimes through the hole in the roof, sometimes directly into your face like it's trying to blind you on purpose. You cough, eyes watering. One more stick, one more blow, one more glowing ember. You've kept the fire alive another day. You, a child, just helped your family not freeze to death. No big deal. You sit back on your heels, warm smoke coating your clothes, your hair, your soul. The house smells like burnt wood and damp wool. A Viking aromatherapy session. There's always a watch system for the fire. Even at night, someone has to wake up and check it. Sometimes it's the oldest child, sometimes the youngest who can be trusted not to fall asleep mid-task. Last week, your cousin forgot. The flames died out. Everyone woke up to a house so cold, the chickens wouldn't cluck. Your grandmother hit him with a spoon. No one's forgotten since. Historians still debate whether Viking longhouses had chimneys. Some believe the smoke hole in the roof was the only vent, while others argue that wealthier families built primitive flues to direct the smoke out more efficiently. You personally believe the smoke just likes to hang out and ruin your breathing. For fun. Your father has a trick. He keeps a stone tucked in the ashes. At night, he wraps it in cloth and puts it at his feet. It holds heat like a secret. One time, you tried to sneak it for yourself. He noticed. You didn't try again. The fire isn't just warmth. It's where food happens. It's where stories are told. It's where injuries are treated, leather is softened, and metal is heated. It's your version of TV, stove, and hospital, all rolled into one. Mid-morning is when your mother starts cooking. Not fancy food. Just broth, goat bones boiled into surrender, with maybe a few onions if there are any left in the root cellar. Sometimes she throws in dried herbs from the summer stash. You once caught her muttering to the pot. She said it makes the flavor bolder, or maybe it just keeps the house spirits happy. Who knows? A fringe belief whispered in the village. Some say fire has a spirit and that if you offend it, by spitting into it or tossing in rotten wood, it will bite you later in your dreams. You're not sure you believe that, but you don't spit into the fire either. You sit near the edge of the hearth, stretching out your hands. The warmth is uneven, your palms are hot, your back is frozen, but it's still better than anything outside. You think of the snowdrifts, the ice on the outhouse seat, the wind that seems to know your name. You're not going back out there unless someone physically drags you. Your little sister crawls over with a carved wooden horse. She holds it up and demands a voice. You sigh, take it, and growl, "I am horse, lord of the fire." She squeals with laughter and starts making the goat doll attack. It's chaotic and deeply unserious, which is exactly what you need. But the moment doesn't last. The door slams open. Your uncle comes in, brushing snow from his beard and boots, carrying a bundle of split logs. He grunts at you. Fire's low. You don't argue. You just grab the logs and feed the flames. Again, you realize you've grown used to this rhythm. Tend the fire, stay alive. Let it falter and you're one mistake away from frost creeping under your skin. The embers flare. The room glows brighter. Everyone looks a little less miserable. You settle back again and stare into the flames. They flicker like little stories. Dancing. Figures, beasts, gods. You imagine Thor's hammer sparking against frost giants. Loki stealing warmth just for the fun of it. Maybe Odin once sat by a fire like this telling riddles to ravens. That's the thing about fire. It doesn't just warm your skin. It feeds your imagination. It holds back the darkness. And in a winter like this, the darkness always wants in. The fire crackles behind you, but your time next to it is up. Warmth is a luxury, and you've had your share for now. You pull your cloak tighter and brace yourself as the cold grabs your face the moment you step outside. It's not even wind, really. Just this bone-deep stillness that freezes your breath. Mid-air and makes your eyelashes stick together like nature's own eyelash glue. Time to fetch water. Again. The stream nearby hasn't actually flowed in weeks. It's frozen solid, covered in a glistening sheet of ice so clear you can see dead leaves frozen in place like fossils from just last fall. You and your sister carry buckets strung on a yoke across your shoulders. It's not glamorous, but it beats dragging them by hand and spilling icy slush all down your legs. You reach the stream and see the hole your father hacked out 2 mornings ago is already icing over again. The edges are glassy, rimmed in frosted curls. Your job, break it open. You grab a pointed stick not unlike a spear and jab at the ice like it insulted your goat. Eventually, with a crack that echoes up the valley, the chunk splits away and water laps quietly beneath. Success. You kneel shivering as you scoop water into the bucket. Your fingers feel like wood. The water smells faintly metallic. You don't care. You just want to finish before your hands go fully numb and you become the cautionary tale the village mothers whisper to their children. Don't be like him, who lingered too long and lost a thumb. Historians still argue whether Viking families used communal wells or mainly relied on running sources like springs and rivers. Either way, nobody was installing heated plumbing anytime soon. If you wanted water in winter, you worked for it, and your sister head back. The bucket swinging, water sloshing, and the yoke pressing into your collarbone like a punishment for surviving. Each step crunches through the snow crust. The sun's rising, sort of, just enough to make the snow glitter and blind you simultaneously. She slips, goes down on one knee, but holds the bucket like it's a sacred relic. Don't you dare. Spill it, you bark. She doesn't. Viking instincts kick in early. You reach the longhouse, arms aching. Water gets ladled into a big ceramic basin. Your mother uses some to top off the cooking pot, some to wash out cloths, and some gets rationed out for face washing. Not bathing, face washing. Let's not get wild. Once a week maybe, the family strips down for a full wash. You know it's time when you hear your father say, "You smell like a troll's backside." It's said lovingly, of course. Kind of. You sneak a moment by the door to peer down the hill toward the fjord. It's frozen in wide, lazy sweeps of gray-white. A few seals poke their heads through breathing holes. You envy them in a weird way. Built-in blubber, no chores, no buckets. A quick joke to break the cold silence. You ever hear the one about the Viking kid who tried to pee outside in 40 degrees C? He's still stuck to the post. Okay, maybe not actually. True, but it does make you laugh under your breath. Chores shift fast. Water hauled? Time to fetch kindling. You don't get a break. You just rotate jobs like a frosty assembly line of survival. You head toward the woodpile stacked under a sloped thatch lean-to. The logs are frozen together, of course, because why would anything be easy? You pry a few loose and stack them in your arms. Then you spot the neighbor kid doing the same. He nods at you. It's the Viking equivalent of sup. Words are too precious to waste on greetings when your face feels like it might crack off. Back inside, you drop the wood near the hearth and catch your breath. The house is loud now. Goats bleating, your cousin singing some made-up battle song, your grandmother muttering into her knitting. You love her, but she's absolutely talking to the wool, probably arguing with it, a quirky tidbit you overheard once. Some Viking families kept little carved spirit charms near the fire or water basins, tiny wooden faces or twisted bits of bone meant to guard the warmth or keep the water clean. Your uncle has one shaped like a bear skull. He swears it keeps snow ghosts from entering the house. You don't ask too many questions. You slip outside again to catch your breath. Sometimes the noise inside is worse than the cold. The snow's piled high around the doorway, making it feel like stepping out of a burrow. The world is muffled still, cold as the moon. You blink and see frost fall off your lashes in tiny shards. You remember what your father told you once. Surviving isn't just fighting, it's noticing, smelling smoke before the fire dies, listening for wind shifts, watching for animal tracks. You nod to no one in particular. Viking kids grow up learning the world not through books, but through breath and frostbite and bruises. You head back inside. More firewood, more water, maybe help salt the fish or stir the broth. You're 10 years old and already feel like you've lived 100 lives, but you're here, alive, unfrozen, functional, and tomorrow, you'll do it all again, with buckets, sticks, and stubbornness. It's early evening now, and you're standing outside again, this time in the animal pen. Yes, even in 40-degree C, someone has to check on the animals. And lucky you, it's your turn. The goats eye you suspiciously as you fumble with the latch, fingers stiff in your mittens. The wooden gate creaks open, revealing a half-frozen patch of churned snow and straw, littered with goat droppings that have gone icy and somehow more sinister. The animals huddle together near the back, their breath steaming like tiny dragons. Goats don't do well in the cold, not on their own. That's why you've all gone to the trouble of building them a shelter with thick turf walls and low ceilings to trap warmth. It's not exactly goat paradise, but it's better than letting them become livestock popsicles. You push open the animal shed door and step into a pocket of relatively warm, musky air. The goats bleat softly. One of them, the big one with the torn ear, your personal nemesis, tries to nibble your cloak again. You dodge. Barely. You check the feed trough, crammed with dried hay from the summer. They've eaten most of it, so you grab a bundle from the corner and dump it in. Your little sister swears she saw a rat in here once, but no one believed her. Now every time you reach into that haystack, you do it like it might bite you. Historians still argue whether Viking children were actively involved in animal husbandry, or if it was reserved for adults. But from where you're standing, up to your knees in hay and goat stink, it sure doesn't feel like something the adults are hoarding for themselves. You check the water, which is more ice than liquid. You use a stick to break it up and pour in a bit of the unfrozen water you brought earlier. One goat immediately starts drinking. The others just look tired. You get that. The cows are next. Bigger animals, bigger problems. They have their own shelter, half dug into the earth with a thick thatch roof and moss insulation. Inside, the warmth hits you like a heavy blanket. The animals have been steaming up the place all day. You swear you can see your reflection in the foggy interior. One cow moos lazily, chewing her cud like winter's just a rumor. You admire that. These cows aren't just for milk or meat. They're a living heater system. Viking homes sometimes had animal stalls attached directly to the living quarters. The body heat of livestock helped keep the household from freezing, especially during brutal storms. And when storms do hit, no one goes out. You just listen. The wind howls through the eaves like a wounded spirit, and the animals groan softly, pressing close. On nights like that, you sleep with your boots nearby and a knife under your pillow. Not for intruders, for frozen door latches. You trudge back toward the house, boots caked in snow and slush, cloak flapping like a tired flag. You pause a moment, face turned skyward. Snow is falling again, fine dry flakes that sting your cheeks. The sky glows a dusky blue, and smoke curls from the longhouse roof like a slow sigh. You duck inside, shedding the cold like a second skin. The rush of warmth hits you along with the scent of stew and singed wool. Someone burned a sock again. You don't ask who. You sit down near the hearth, stretching your hands toward the flames, and finally, relax. Sort of. Your feet still feel like blocks of wood, and your back itches from the layers you've been wearing all day. Your older cousin is fixing a leather harness by the firelight. You watch him stitch, steady and precise. You admire how his fingers move even when the house is so cold you can see your breath. You want to be that good one day. Maybe not with harnesses, maybe with axes. Your grandmother hums softly as she cards wool. She's making thread for someone's new mittens, or maybe for a charm to hang over the animal pens. She believes in charms, says they keep frost spirits out and warmth in. You don't know if that's true, but you're not risking. In a quirky belief some hold around your village, goats can predict the weather. If they start stomping their hooves or bleating in strange patterns, a blizzard is coming. You tested it once by bleating back. Your mother was not amused. Dinner is a simple affair. Barley stew, thick and bland but hot. You wolf it down. You'd eat tree bark if it came in a bowl and had steam rising from it. Someone passes you a chunk of dense rye bread. You chew it slowly, not because you're savoring it, but because it's like gnawing on a shoe. Everyone's gathered now. Your whole, freezing, loud, goat-scented family. You're all sitting close around the fire, backs against fur-covered walls, talking, laughing, dozing. The warmth doesn't reach your bones, not really, but it's enough to keep you going. Your father begins to tell a story. Not one of the big ones, no Odin or Loki tonight, this one's local. A tale about a hunter who got lost in the winter woods and followed a fox spirit home. It's half legend, half warning. You lean in, eyes heavy, belly full. The fire dances in his eyes. The goats settle outside. Snow builds quietly on the roof. You're a Viking child. You've mucked out pens in the dark, broken ice with your bare hands, fed the hearth like your life depends on it. Because it does. And tomorrow, you'll do it all again. Just like the goats. Just like the fire. Just like the cold. You wake. Up in the same spot you fell asleep. Curled beside the fire with your face buried in a scratchy wool blanket. It's still dark. Of course it is. The sun barely visits in the dead of winter, and when it does, it acts like it's doing you a favor. Maybe 4 hours of daylight if you're lucky. Today, luck has apparently overslept. The embers glow faintly, just enough to see outlines. Your father's boots, your little brother's mop of hair, the steaming breath of the dog curled near your feet. The hearth fire never truly goes out. If it does, you're in serious trouble. So the last one to bed always banks the coals, piling ash over the glow like tucking in a baby. This morning, that baby's fussy. You poke the embers with a fire iron. Stir them gently, then add kindling. Dry twigs from the stack by the wall, collected in better weather. They catch, hiss, and flicker. You add a bigger piece of birch and the flames rise in a sleepy yawn. This is your job this week, keeping the fire alive. No pressure. Just the difference between everyone waking up warm or waking up dead. Your breath curls in the cold air as you sit back and wrap your blanket tighter. The others start to stir. Your sister kicks off her furs and groans. Is it morning? She asks. You glance at the gloom outside the smoke hole. Technically, you mutter, mornings. Like this don't begin with birdsong. They begin with coughing, creaking joints, and someone asking where the dog peed during the night. You'll know soon enough when the smell hits. Breakfast is last night's stew. Again. Maybe some dried berries thrown in for excitement. Your grandmother insists it's good for your blood. You're not sure what that means, but it's hard to argue with someone who has survived 7 winters on nothing but root vegetables and spite. While you eat, your father explains the day's plan. A hunt. It's been 3 days since anyone brought home meat, and salted fish is starting to taste like punishment. You're not going, of course. You're still too young to wield a spear, though you did once throw one across the yard and hit the water bucket. Accidentally. Still, a win's a win. But you are going to help prepare. That means checking gear, oiled leather bindings, flint knives, and hand-forged arrowheads. You run your fingers along the edge of a bone-tipped spearhead, sharp enough to pierce a reindeer's hide, or your finger if you're not careful. Historians still argue whether Viking children actually trained for combat as young as 6 or 7, or if that's a modern exaggeration. But in your house, you've been sparring with sticks since you could walk. You know how to fall on snow without winding yourself. You know where to hit someone wearing fur. Today, though, it's about support. You help pack supplies, wrapped meat, smoked in early autumn, bits of honey bread, strips of dried cod. Your mother adds a small flask of mead to your father's bag. For warmth, she says, raising an eyebrow. You step outside to help load the sled. The cold slaps you instantly. It doesn't even feel like air. It's a presence, pushing at your eyes and crawling up your sleeves. You clench your jaw to stop your teeth from chattering. Your father and the older boys are already outside, dressed in heavy cloaks, thick boots, and layers of wool beneath. One of them hands you a bundle wrapped in leather. It's the hunting horn. If they succeed today, you might hear it echoing. From the valley, 3 short blasts. That means meat. That means a good night. You tie down the bundle with leather cords. The sled is rough but sturdy, built from pine, lined with moss. The dog team barks and shifts, eager to move. These aren't lapdogs. These are stocky, frost-resistant, possibly part wolf beasts who've been bred for one purpose: running. As the hunting party departs, you stand by the longhouse door and watch the sled vanish into the whiteness. The snow swallows everything. In seconds, trees blur, sky and land blur. If you didn't know better, you'd think the world ended 20 feet away. You go back inside, where it's suddenly too quiet. The chores start again. You help your mother twist wool into thread, your fingers working on autopilot. You're not great at spinning. Your thread always comes out lumpy. Your sister says it's very rustic, which is her way of being nice about how bad it looks. After lunch, dried fish and barley cakes. You join the other children outside to gather snow for drinking water. Sounds simple, right? Except it takes forever. Your gloves get soaked and the snow sometimes hides sharp sticks or animal poop. Nature's little surprises. Still you laugh. You chase each other around the hut, hurling clumps of snow with mittens as hard as bricks. You fall face first and eat a mouthful of powdery ice. You're pretty sure your nostrils freeze shut for 2 seconds. Worth it. A quirky little fact you once overheard. Some Vikings believed the northern lights were caused by sky spirits playing games, maybe even battles. If you whistle at them, your uncle once warned, they might come down and take you. He's probably joking. Probably. The day drifts on. The sky darkens again, even though it feels like you just woke up. That's what winter does, it blurs everything. Time, space, toes. Your grandmother starts another fire. Your cousin sharpens tools. The wind outside picks up, sliding along the roof with a hiss. No horn sounds from the hills. Dinner is thinner than usual. The salted fish is tough and smells aggressive. You chew in silence. Everyone does. You lie down by the fire again, blankets tight, hands tucked under your arms for warmth. Your body aches from the cold even under layers. Your feet are wrapped in rags, your face feels numb. You close your eyes trying to imagine something warmer. The last thing you hear before sleep, your mother whispering to the fire. It's not a prayer, more like a promise. You'll make it through this winter. One breath, one ember, one layer of wool at a time. The next morning, you wake up to silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the heavy, smothering hush that only comes after a night of relentless snow. The kind of silence that says, don't even bother opening the door, you're not going anywhere. You blink away sleep, roll over and stare at the low ceiling beams, wondering if the roof made it through the night. Snow that heavy can crush things. Chickens, sheds, hope. Someone stirs beside you. Your sister mumbles something about her toes being gone. Not metaphorically. She's convinced they've literally frozen off. You check under the blanket. Still attached. You mutter. She groans and pulls the covers tighter. The hearth is low again. You rise like a reluctant ghost and shuffle to the coals. They're barely glowing, sulking under gray ash. You coax them back with splinters and patience, whispering to the flame like it's a skittish animal. Eventually, the fire huffs to life again. You sit back, triumphant. One more point for survival. As light begins to creep through the smoke hole above, your mother finally opens the front door and immediately regrets it. A wall of snow, nearly up to her waist, blocks the entrance like nature's passive-aggressive note. Thought you had plans today? Nope. You spend the next hour digging. Not outside, mind you. Through the snow. The family has to tunnel a path out of the longhouse just to reach the yard. You take turns scooping with wooden shovels in your gloved hands, clearing narrow corridors between the house and the animal shelters. It's kind of fun at first, like building a snow fort you didn't ask for. But your arms start to ache, your fingers burn, and the snow keeps falling. It's the kind of snow that laughs at your efforts. Still, everyone pitches in. Even your grandmother wields a shovel like it owes her money. Snow this heavy means one thing. You're stuck for a while. No hunting, no fishing, no visiting neighbors 2 hills over. You're sealed in like pickled onions in a jar, tight, preserved, and slightly vinegary smelling depending on who hasn't bathed this week. Back inside, the mood turns cozy, sort of. You've got fire, food, barely, and family. But the walls start to feel closer. You all move around each other like bears in a cave trying not to snap. Every creak of a floorboard, every dropped spoon feels loud. To pass the time, your mother brings out the carving stones. You each take a lump of soft soapstone or bone and whittle small shapes. Animals, gods, strange symbols that don't mean anything but feel important. Your little brother makes a fish with 3 eyes. It's terrifying. Everyone applauds politely. Your father once told you that children used to carve toy boats and pretend to raid each other's soup bowls. You try that once. Your sister stabs your ship with a spoon and claims your cabbage. Historians still argue whether Viking kids used toys as practice for real raids, or if they were just kids being kids. Later, the grown-ups sit by the fire to repair tools and clothes. You sit at your grandmother's feet while she mends a thick wool sock, humming a tune so old it feels like it came with the snow. You ask what it's about. Keeping the sun alive, she says simply. That's a thing here, sun magic. Quirky, but taken seriously. Some folks believe that when the sun disappears in winter, it's because it's sick or sad. So you wear bright colors, hang polished stones in the window, or burn certain herbs in the hearth to remind the sun it's loved. Sounds odd, but when it's been dark for a month straight, you'll try just about anything. The smell of juniper smoke fills the air. Someone's cooking again, probably root stew. You've never been this emotionally attached to a carrot before. Dinner is a quiet affair. Everyone's hungry, but no one says much. You're all thinking about the hunters. Still no sign. No horn blasts from the hills, no crunch of sled runners. Just wind. That night you can't sleep. The wind howls like a wild beast, rattling the walls. You pull your blanket tighter and stare at the ceiling beams again. In the flickering firelight, they look like the ribs of some great beast, holding you inside its belly. Your sister mumbles in her sleep. Something about wolves. You don't wake her. You just lie still, listening to the creaks and groans of the old wooden house. The moan of the wind, the distant cough of a goat. Every sound a reminder. The cold is still out there, and it's not going away. You remember the story your father told once about a boy who wandered too far during a storm and found a door in the snow, a shimmering wall of ice that opened into another world. He stepped through and never came back. Your father laughed when he told it, but then he said, "That's why we don't leave the path. The snow hides things. It's the kind of tale that clings to your brain when you're alone and dark. You reach out under the blanket and find your sister's hand. She squeezes back, still half asleep. Eventually, the wind softens. The fire sinks lower. The cold wraps around the house, patient and quiet, waiting. You drift into dreams filled with snow tunnels, sun charms, and bone ships sailing across bowls of stew. You are a Viking child, trapped in a longhouse carved from timber and willpower, with nothing between you and the winter but firelight, family, and the endless stubbornness of survival. You wake up to the sound of voices outside, muffled, urgent, hopeful. You sit up, so fast your blanket falls off and the cold slaps your arms like it's been waiting. You ignore it, scramble to the door and peer through a crack in the wooden planks. A figure stumbles toward the longhouse. Frost clings to his eyebrows and his boots are crusted white. It's your father. Behind him, the sled drags low, the dogs trudging slowly. You can't see what's on it yet, but you already know. He's back and he's not empty-handed. Everyone inside rushes to help. The door creaks open, letting in a gust of Arctic air and the scent of something metallic, blood and ice. The sled holds 2 deer, frost-glazed but whole. You can't help it. Your stomach growls so loudly your cousin elbows you and snorts. The deer are hoisted to the rafters on thick hooks. Field-dressed but not yet skinned, they hang like heavy offerings. Steam rises from their flanks as the warmth of the longhouse hits them. Your father slumps near the fire, cheeks red and raw. He pulls off his gloves, stiff with frost, and holds out his hands to the flames, flexing his fingers slowly. "Nearly lost this one," he mutters, showing you. His pinky, it's turned an unsettling gray at the tip. Frostbite. Nasty stuff. There's an old remedy your grandmother swears by, warming the flesh slowly in animal fat. Apparently it smells horrible and works wonderfully. She disappears toward the storage pots with a grim sort of delight. Historians still argue whether Viking communities treated frostbite with actual medical knowledge or just brute superstition and animal parts. Judging by the jar of seal fat heating over the coals, it's probably both. While your father rests, the others get to work. Skinning. The deer takes hours. You help where you can, holding a leg steady, wiping the blade, trying not to slip on the mess of blood and snow pooling beneath the carcass. It's gory work, but not shocking. You've seen worse from butchering fish. Still, there's something sacred about it. Nothing is wasted. The meat will be salted and dried. The hide will be scraped clean and softened for boots or clothing. The sinew, nature's string, will be turned into thread. Even the bones will find a second life as tools or toys. Your little brother wants one to carve into a troll. You make a mental note not to sleep too close to him tonight. After the mess is cleared, the longhouse feels different. The smell of meat changes the air, thickens it with promise. You catch your mother smiling. Just a little. That evening you eat like someone who's been rationing root stew for days. Roasted venison, crispy at the edges, hot and rich in a way that makes your eyes roll back. You chew slowly, on purpose, like you're afraid you might wake up and find it was just a dream. Even your sister goes quiet, which is how you know she's truly happy. Later, after the meal, your father tells the story, the one about how they tracked the deer deep into the woods, near the stone hills, where no one builds because the ground there breathes wrong. You've heard stories about those hills. Some say old gods sleep there. Others say spirits still whisper through the trees. You believe both. He says they camped overnight beneath a fallen spruce, made a fire from frozen bark and luck, and nearly gave up before sunrise. Then, movement. A single buck standing still in the blue half-light, watching them like it knew something they didn't. The kill was clean, quick, but on the way back, one of the dogs limped, and the cold worsened. They thought they might not make it, but they did. Barely. The story has a rhythm to it. Near loss, sudden victory, the weight of something watching. You've heard versions of this before. It's never really about the deer. It's about what it costs to bring food home. About how the forest gives only when it's in the mood, and the cold always wants more than it takes. Later, by firelight, the grown-ups talk in low voices. You catch snatches of it. About another village half a day's walk away. A family didn't make it. Starved, probably. Or froze. No one knows yet. Your mother whispers, "We should send something." Even as a child, you understand what this means. Giving away food in winter is, well, risky. But not doing it, that changes who you are. And in Viking culture, honor matters, even in the dark. So the next morning, your father and a few others pack dried meat and fish into a leather satchel. It's not much, but enough to show someone remembered, that someone cared. You help wrap the bundle, tying it tight with braided twine. Your fingers work quickly, not because you want the job done, but because the cold outside is already creeping back in, and the longhouse isn't built for kindness delays. You volunteer to carry it to the sled, just the short distance, from door to dogs, but your boots crunch on the snow with purpose. You feel older somehow, more a part of this life. The sky is clear today, a soft pale blue that doesn't mean warmth. The sun barely peeks over the trees before sliding away again, but even that brief glimpse feels like a gift. Back inside, preparations for preserving. The deer continue. The meat is sliced thin, sprinkled with salt, and laid out near the hearth to begin drying. It'll hang above the fire on racks for days, slow roasting in the smoky heat. You lick your lips just thinking about it. There's a strange comfort in the routine. Skin, salt, dry, hang, repeat. A rhythm of survival that clicks into your bones like it's always been there. Before bed, you help your grandmother hang a piece of the fresh hide near the door. Protection, she says. Not from wolves or raiders, but from the cold itself. We must show the winter we are not afraid. It's a little dramatic, but honestly, you kind of love it. You fall asleep too. The scent of meat and smoke, your belly full, the fire steady. For the first time in days, your dreams aren't about snow swallowing everything. Instead, you dream of deer antlers glinting in the twilight, and hands lifting you up to see above the trees. Morning comes with a hush, like the world is holding its breath. You crack open your eyes, half expecting to see another mountain of snow pressed against the door, but today it's different. There's a strange brightness in the air, a thin thread of golden light filtering through the smoke hole. The fire is already going strong, and the longhouse smells like dried juniper and pine tar. Your mother is up early, stirring something in a pot. You hope it's breakfast and not another herbal potion that tastes like boiled tree bark. You shuffle, closer, eyes still crusty with sleep. She ladles out a thick porridge-like stew, barley maybe, with a few slivers of dried apple. You gulp it down gratefully. It's the Viking equivalent of a warm hug. After eating, you slip on your boots and help your father outside. The snow crunches underfoot, hardened now by the cold night. It's still deep, waist-high in some places, but the top layer has frozen into a crust that holds your weight if you step just right. You learn quickly. Step too hard and you plunge through. Step too soft and you don't go anywhere. It's like walking on a stale meringue. Today's job, reinforce the animal shelter. The goats have been huddling too close to the walls, and the wind's been sneaking in through the gaps. You haul armfuls of hay and stuff it into the cracks between logs, patting it down like a baker smoothing dough. Your father lays extra branches over the top, then we add a second hide as insulation. It smells like old fur and faintly like pee. You try not to breathe too deeply. Inside the shelter, the goats blink at you, unimpressed. One of them sneezes, directly onto your tunic. Congratulations. You've been officially welcomed into the herd. You help check the hens, too. They're tucked into the warmest corner, next to a basket of ash that keeps their feet from freezing. Your grandmother swears. By it, ash is the earth's blanket, she says. You're not sure about the science, but the chickens are alive, so it must be working. After chores, your cousin dares you to slide down the snowdrift near the house. You pretend to roll your eyes, but immediately accept. You climb the drift like a tiny mountain goat and launch yourself off the edge. The wind whistles past your ears, and for a second you're flying. Then whoomp, you land face first in the snow. You laugh, even though your eyebrows are now frozen together. You all take turns sliding, tumbling, and diving into the powder like snow-drenched maniacs. It's probably the most fun you've had since the first snowstorm. Your little brother builds a lopsided snowman and names it Bjorn the Cold-Hearted. You give it a stick sword and an icicle mustache. Even Viking kids needed play. Archaeologists have found carved wooden animals, small sleds, and bone dice, suggesting that fun, mischief, and games were part of daily life, even in brutal winters. Historians still debate whether these toys had symbolic or ritual meanings, but kids probably just liked flinging things. Later, you help your aunt clean out the chamber pots. This, sadly, is not a game. It's grim, cold, and makes you seriously reconsider your life choices. You carry a sloshing bucket outside and dump it in the latrine trench, trying not to splash your boots. There's a wind gust, of course. You curse quietly under your breath and vow to wear better shoes tomorrow. But even the gross chores have their place. In a world where disease can spread fast and warmth is fleeting, hygiene matters. Well, Viking hygiene, which is to say, better than people think, still not great. Once the grossness is over, the afternoon is quiet. Your uncle begins telling tales by the fire, long winding stories of gods and monsters, lovers turned into stars, and brave warriors who trick death itself. You lie on your stomach, chin in your hands, completely hooked. There's a tale about a girl who could speak to animals. She saved her village by asking a pack of wolves to guard the gates during a siege. In exchange, she gave them half her winter meat. Everyone survived. The wolves became her brothers. You imagine what it would be like to whisper secrets to a bear or convince a snow owl to steal someone's socks. Your grandmother chimes in, telling an older version of the same story, but in hers, the girl turns into a wolf herself, running forever through the woods. The forest always takes what it's owed, she says with a sideways glance that makes you shiver. There's something about Viking stories. They're beautiful and brutal, like the landscape. They don't promise happy endings, but they respect cleverness, courage, and the quiet kind of magic that lives in the everyday, like the way your mother makes food stretch farther than it should, or how your father knows when the snow is safe to walk on just by the crunch. That night, the wind picks up again. You help shutter the longhouse, shoving dried moss and old furs into the cracks where the cold likes to sneak in. Your breath puffs like smoke, and your fingers sting with cold. You pull your sleeves down and hurry back to the fire. Before bed, your mother gives each of you a warm stone, wrapped in cloth and pulled from the edge of the hearth. You slide yours into your bedding, sighing as the warmth melts into your toes. Simple things feel miraculous in weather like this. As you lie down, your sister whispers, "Do you think the girl with the wolves was real?" You shrug. Maybe. Someone had to feed them first. She nods seriously like she's planning something. You smile in the dark. Outside, the wind howls like a chorus of wolves. Maybe they're telling stories too. The sun rises low again, casting its pale light across the frozen landscape, barely making an impression on the thick blankets of snow. The morning feels quiet, almost too quiet, as though the earth itself is taking a breath before another deep freeze. You pull on your woolen tunic, noticing the wear on its seams. Every bit of fabric, every stitch, has a history here, even the old patches. You've been wearing that tunic for what feels like years, and each tear tells a story of survival, a battle against time and the seasons. This morning, there's a new task waiting for you: gathering wood. It's always gathering wood, always dragging it in from the cold, hauling it like it's the last thing that'll keep you alive. The cold bites at your skin as you step out of the longhouse, the frost crackling underfoot like brittle glass. The world seems to stretch endlessly before you, white and unbroken with only a few scattered trees to break the monotony. The branches of the evergreens groan under the weight of snow, as if they too are struggling to stay upright in this frozen world. You load your arms with split logs, careful not to drop them into the snow, which would leave you bending and shivering for far too long. The cold works its way under your skin. through the thick wool of your layers until it feels like it's in your bones. You can't rush the work, but every step feels slow, each movement wrapped in frostbite potential. It's not just wood you gather. You learn quickly to pick up anything that might keep the fire going. Pine cones, dry brush, anything that can burn. Your father once said that winter doesn't care if you're ready for it. It comes anyway, and all you can do is gather, and hope you're not caught short when the snow falls thick. You toss a log into the already growing pile near the door, feeling a sense of accomplishment. It's not much, but it's enough for today. Your arms ache with the effort, but in a strange way it's comforting. The ache of work is familiar. It's the one thing that tells you, no matter what the cold is doing, you are still moving, still surviving. The village is quieter now, though. The frostbite cases are beginning to show, and not everyone makes it. Some people are already bedridden, their bodies too stiff to keep up with the demands of the harsh winter. You help where you can, running errands for those who can't leave their beds, delivering warm food, or just carrying water to the next longhouse. The work is constant, like an unspoken pact. Help each other, and together you all might make it through another season. Your grandmother talks about the old ways, how the village used to be larger. There were more people, more hands to help, with the hard work. But the cold takes its toll, and so do the raids. Even the strongest of the longhouses have seen their walls collapse under the pressure of time, their timber worn thin. The stories of old, the ones about gods and heroes who braved the cold to defeat monsters, seem distant now. They're whispered under your breath as you shovel more snow out of the way to reach the next task. But then again, you don't need the gods to survive. You've learned that lesson the hard way. Survival is about persistence, about getting up every morning, no matter how deep the snow or how freezing the wind, and going out to do your part. The days blur together like this, a rhythm of chores, food, rest, and then back to work again. But in that rhythm, you find a strange peace. You get good at it. The balance of warmth and cold, survival and sacrifice. There's comfort in knowing what's expected, in knowing that if you just keep moving forward, you'll make it. As night falls, the temperature plummets again. You watch as the stars blink into existence, a cold, distant reminder that the gods are still up there, watching. Or maybe it's just the night sky. It doesn't matter much. Tonight, though, you sit by the fire, listening to the crackling wood and the murmured conversations of your family. You know that tomorrow will bring more work, more struggle, but there's something about the firelight that makes it all feel manageable. It's warmth against the cold, a flicker of hope. Your father tells another story, quieter than usual. One about the time he wandered too far into the woods during a storm and nearly lost his way. The snow hides everything, he says, looking into the fire like he's seeing it all over again. But the forest can give you a way out too. You just have to trust it. You nod along, not quite understanding, but feeling the weight of it. The warmth from the fire seeps into your bones, a welcome respite from the relentless cold outside. You close your eyes for just a moment, listening to the wind howl against the roof, the occasional creak of the logs. The wind is always there, always testing, always asking, "Can you survive this?" You drift off to sleep, knowing you'll wake up tomorrow to the same cold, the same tasks. But tonight, in the quiet safety of the longhouse, surrounded by the people you love and the warmth of the fire, the cold doesn't seem quite as frightening. The next morning is quieter than usual. The wind is still, and the cold feels heavier, somehow more intense than it has in days. The silence outside is thick, almost oppressive, as though the world is waiting for something. Maybe the storm everyone's been whispering about. The elders have been predicting it for weeks, their faces grim as they measure the sky, their fingers twitching in the direction of the winds. Today, you can feel it too, the unease in the air, like something's coming, something big. You bundle yourself up, layers upon layers of thick wool and fur. You've been doing this for years now, but it still feels strange, like you're wearing someone else's skin. It's a process you don't think about anymore. There's no room for hesitation in the cold. If you hesitate, the cold catches you and doesn't let go. Inside the longhouse, there's a sense of calm determination. People go about their business, each task a familiar one, a routine to follow. Your mother stirs the morning stew, the warm scent of oats filling the space, and your father sharpens his axe, its edge gleaming in the low light. Everyone knows what they need to do. Today is for preparing for the storm, preparing for what comes next. You, however, are given a slightly different task today, one that makes your heart race a little faster. The youngest children have been assigned to help gather the final supply of firewood, which after today will have to last for the rest of the winter. You've done it before, but this feels different. It's not just about the firewood anymore. It's about the fact that the storm might keep you from going out again for days. You've heard the stories, the ones about families stranded for weeks in their homes, unable to leave because the snow has built up too high. No one talks about those stories unless they're serious. The air outside is biting as you leave the shelter of the longhouse. You pull your hood tighter, the cold seeping through the thick fabric, nipping at your nose. Your breath hangs in the air like a cloud of smoke. The world is so still that it almost feels unreal, like time has slowed, and there's nothing but the sound of your boots crunching in the snow. The sleds are waiting, already loaded with the last of the logs. You grab hold of one, sliding it across the frozen ground, its wooden runners squeaking against the ice. The forest is quiet too, the usual chirping of birds absent, as though the animals know better than to be out in this weather. The trees stand like silent sentinels, their boughs heavy with snow, and the occasional creak of branches is the only sound. Your job today is simple. Gather whatever dry wood you can find. You know the drill. Branches that have fallen, twigs that can be broken into smaller pieces, anything that can be used to fuel the fire. But with the snow so deep, even the simplest task takes longer than it should. You kneel down to pull a branch from the snow, your fingers numb with the cold. The snow doesn't give easily, and when you finally manage to free the branch, you pause to look around, just for a moment. The forest feels different today. You don't know if it's the silence or the way the snow seems to glow under the pale sunlight, but there's an eerie quality to the scene. It's like everything is holding its breath, waiting. Maybe it's just the storm on the horizon, or maybe it's something more. You don't have time to think about it for long. Your cousin yells from further up the slope, urging you to hurry. You pick up the pace, hauling the logs toward the sled, your muscles burning from the effort. You can't help but feel a sense of pride at how much you've already gathered, enough to keep the fires going for a while. Still, there's this nagging feeling that it's not enough. You glance over your shoulder at the sky, noting how the clouds have thickened. The storm is coming. It's only a matter of time. As you finish the final load, your father appears, his face serious. He doesn't say anything at first, just looks at the sky, his eyes narrowing as the first few flakes of snow start to fall. It's just a few at first, delicate little crystals that sparkle in the light, but they quickly pick up speed, turning into a full-blown flurry. Within minutes, the world around you starts to disappear under a white blanket. You scramble back, toward the longhouse, the snow biting at your face, turning your cheeks red and raw. The storm is here. It's impossible to ignore now. You duck inside, out of the wind, feeling the warmth of the fire greet you like an old friend. Your mother is already adding more logs to the hearth, her movements calm but quick. She doesn't need to say anything. Everyone knows that the storm has arrived. By nightfall, the snow is thick outside, swirling in unpredictable gusts, covering everything in a blanket of white. The longhouse is warm, the fire crackling, and your family gathers close around it, huddling together like a small island in a sea of snow. The storm rages outside, but inside it feels like the world is right again just for a moment. Everyone's working, preparing for the long nights ahead, cooking, mending, talking quietly among themselves. Your grandmother continues her stories by the fire, weaving tales of gods who battled storms, of great warriors who faced impossible odds. You listen, your mind drifting between the stories and the sound of the wind, which is now howling outside, clawing at the door like an angry animal. You feel safe, though, as long as you're inside, where the warmth of the hearth holds the cold at bay. But as you drift off to sleep, there's a small voice in your mind that wonders how many more winters like this you'll have to endure, how many more storms, how many more days of struggle and survival. The answer, of course, is uncertain, but in this moment, under the roof of your longhouse, surrounded by family and warmth, you know that whatever comes, you'll face it together. The storm can rage all it likes, but inside, you're not afraid. When morning finally comes, it feels like the storm has swallowed the entire world. The sky is an endless pale gray, and the snow still falls relentlessly, thick and heavy. It's as if the world has been muted, the usual sounds of life muffled by the storm's fury. The snowdrifts outside have grown even higher, towering like walls, and the howling wind outside still rattles the longhouse's walls. The trees, once standing tall, are now bent over under the weight of the snow, their branches creaking like old bones. You've never seen a storm like this before. Your father has lived through worse, though, and his calm demeanor as he stokes the fire gives you some reassurance. This is just another day in the long cycle of survival. You can't afford to panic. The storm will pass. Eventually, like all things. You crawl out from under your furs, feeling the chill of the air as it hits your skin. The longhouse smells like smoke and wood, and you pull on your woolen clothes. The ones you've worn so many times now they've started to mold themselves to your body. It's funny how your clothes begin to feel like part of you after a while. Too worn, too soft to be anything else. Outside, the snow is up to your knees. You shove your way through it, feeling the sting of the cold bite at your exposed skin. It's hard to tell where the ground ends and the sky begins. The storm has created an endless sea of white, and your senses are overwhelmed by the vastness of it all. You don't know how far you have to walk to get to the other houses, but you do it anyway. There's always work to be done. You find the women of the village huddled together near the food storage, their hands moving quickly, cutting dried fish, grinding barley into flour, packing away meat in the cool storage bins. Even in the midst of the storm, life continues. It's the same rhythm every day, the one that has kept your people alive for generations. You add your part, checking the supply of food, ensuring there's enough to last through the next few days, possibly weeks. When you return to the longhouse, your sister has taken over keeping the fire stoked, and your mother is preparing a pot of fish stew. The smell of it fills the room, warm and earthy, and you sit down beside the hearth, your body stiff from the cold. The storm might be raging outside, but in here, you can almost forget about it. It's easy to get lost in the crackle of the fire and the warmth of the meal. As you eat, you talk quietly with your family about the storm. Your uncle, a man of few words, speaks up. "We've seen worse," he says, his eyes scanning the room, as if weighing the truth of his words. "The snow won't stop us, not for long." Your father nods in agreement. "We'll be ready when it clears, just like always." The storm may have trapped you inside for the time being, but there's an unspoken confidence in the air. This is what the Vikings have always done. They survive, they endure, and no matter how harsh the winter, they know how to outlast it. Later, after the meal, your family gathers in the corner of the longhouse, each person sitting near the fire, with their hands busy, mending clothes, carving wood, and making tools. It's not a matter of waiting, it's a matter of preparing. Even in the midst of the storm, life continues because it has to. Your grandmother tells another story, this one about a Viking king who survived a storm so fierce that he was certain he'd never see land again. He trusted the sea to give him a way home, she says, her voice steady and sure. And when the storm passed, the waters were calm again. The king returned to his people, his faith in the sea unshaken. You can't help but wonder what it would be like to trust something as wild and untamable as the sea. Could you ever feel that confident, that sure that no matter how cold the world got, you would find a way back to safety? As night falls, the storm shows no sign of letting up. You sleep by the fire, wrapped in furs with the wind howling outside. The darkness presses in, but inside you are warm. The night stretches on, and the howling wind outside is like a lullaby, singing the old songs of survival. The next morning, the storm has passed, almost as quickly as it came. You wake to a world transformed. The sky is clear, the clouds gone, and the sun, though still weak, shines brightly on the snow. Everything is covered in a fresh blanket of white, and the village is silent, almost peaceful. The air is still cold, but there's a promise of something new in the air, something that tells you the storm is over. The work begins again. There's wood to gather, food to store, and chores to be done. You stand at the door, looking out at the vast landscape, and for the briefest of moments you feel like you can conquer anything. The storm is gone, the snow still deep, but the village stands, and you stand with it. The past few days have felt like a test. It wasn't just the storm. It was the cold, the uncertainty, the knowledge that survival in a world like this is never guaranteed. But you've made it through. You've survived. And for now, that's enough. The work will continue. The seasons will turn, and the cold will return. But for today, there's just the stillness of the snow, the warmth of the fire, and the quiet strength of your people. It's only a few days after the storm, but the memory of it still lingers in the air, the chill that seems to hang in the corners of the longhouse, refusing to let go. But life goes on, as it always must. The village doesn't have the luxury of pausing, not when survival is a constant challenge. The wind may have quieted, But the cold still bites at your skin, still tests your resolve. Outside, the snow is beginning to harden, packed down by the weight of the storm. The snowdrifts are now firm barriers, and the village is slowly starting to emerge from the white cocoon it's been trapped in. The sun is shining today, weak and pale, but it's enough to create an illusion of warmth. The snow glitters under the light, a false promise of spring that seems so far away. You know, better than to trust it. Winter has only just begun. Today you're sent out again, this time to check on the village's food stores, ensuring there's enough to last through the next stretch of winter. Your father hands you a sack, a simple brown thing that smells faintly of dried herbs, and gives you a nod. It's a job that requires careful attention. The cold has a way of spoiling food, even the preserved stuff, and any misstep could mean the difference between surviving and not. The walk to the food storage is long, the snow deep, and the cold numbing. Your feet are heavy in the snow, and you feel every step in your bones. The sleds have been loaded with firewood, and now it's time for the grain and dried fish. You've done this many times. Each trip to the storage a small ritual, a reminder of how much work it takes just to keep things running. As you trudge through the snow, your breath comes out in little puffs, and the air feels thin, like it's too cold for breathing. You start to think about how many more days of this you can take, how many more winters you'll have to go through before something changes. But you quickly push the thought away. There's no use thinking of the future when the present is so overwhelming. Today, there's work to be done. When you reach the storage, the village leader Olaf is already there, checking the barrels of grain. His fur cloak is heavy, draped over his shoulders, and he greets you with a gruff nod, not a word wasted. Olaf is one of those men who doesn't talk much, but when he speaks, it's always worth listening to. He's seen more winters than anyone can count, and if there's anyone who knows how to survive the harshest of conditions, it's him. Check the fish, he grumbles, handing you a bundle of dried fish wrapped in cloth. Make sure there's no rot. You take the bundle and unwrap it carefully, inspecting each piece. The dried fish are one of the village's most vital sources of food, and you can't afford to let a single one go to waste. Each piece feels like a small treasure, a sliver of survival. You check the edges, feeling for any softness, any sign that the fish might have spoiled. Your fingers feel the cold more now, the numbness creeping up from your hands and into your arms. But you keep working, because there's no choice. The food stores are too important to leave unchecked. As you move from barrel to barrel, your thoughts drift again, this time to the people in the village who aren't able to help. The elderly, the sick, those who have already been affected by the cold. You know that not everyone will make it through the winter, and it's a thought that weighs heavily on you. Olaf notices your distraction and grunts, shifting from one foot to the other. Don't worry about them, he says, his voice low but firm. They've lived their lives. What matters now is keeping the rest of us strong. You don't say anything, but the words hang in the air between you. Survival is a hard business, and sometimes the weight of it falls heavy on the shoulders of the young, the ones who still have the chance to grow, to live. With the food checked and the storage properly secured, you turn to head back. The wind picks up again, and the snow stings your face as it blows across the open land. Your legs ache from the cold, but you keep moving. Your thoughts a whirl of what you've seen, what you've heard, and what might be coming next. As you approach the longhouse, you can see the smoke curling up from the chimney, a sign that the fire is still going strong inside. You duck through the door, escaping the cold and stepping into the warmth of the hearth. Your mother looks up as you enter, a brief smile on her face as she sees the sack in your arms. "Everything's good?" she asks, though she knows the answer already. You nod, but there's something in your chest that tightens as you think about the food, about the future. There's never enough to go around. You can see it in the faces of the older people, the ones who don't have the strength to help, the ones who might not make it to spring. But there's nothing to do about it. There's no use in worrying about things you can't change. You have to keep moving forward, keep working, keep surviving. Your father, already busy by the fire, hands you a knife. "Help with this," he says, motioning toward a pile of meat that needs to be prepared for the next few days. You take the knife, feeling the familiar weight of it in your hand. It's one of the few tools you've ever used, and it's seen you through more than a few meals. You settle next to him, your hands moving automatically as you slice through the meat. The fire crackles in the background, and the scent of roasting food fills the longhouse. For a moment, it feels like the world is right again, like the storm is just a distant memory. But you know better. The storm might have passed, but the winter is far from over. There's always work to do. The days stretch out ahead, endless, filled with chores and routines, each one a small step toward survival. As the evening draws in, you look out the window, the snow still falling gently outside, and wonder what tomorrow will bring. Will the cold intensify? Will another storm arrive? You don't know. But for tonight, you're safe. For tonight you are warm, and that will have to be enough. The days blur together, each one feeling much like the last. The cold continues to cut through the air, a constant reminder that the winter is far from over. The landscape outside remains a patchwork of snow and ice, the familiar world now swallowed by white. The storm may have passed, but its aftermath is still etched in the landscape. The snow is heavy, and the sun, when it appears, offers little warmth. Your routine doesn't change. Every day feels like a repeat of the one before. You rise early, stoke the fire, and begin your chores. Today you're sent to help gather more firewood. The sleds have been emptied, and the village is running low. The task feels simple enough, but as you walk through the snow to the forest, there's an ominous feeling in the air. The world feels too quiet. The branches above are bare, their skeletal limbs creaking in the wind, and the earth beneath you is frozen hard. It's as though even the earth is holding its breath, waiting for something. The silence in the forest is thick, and you feel it pressing in on you from all sides. The trees stand like old sentinels, their trunks knotted with age, their branches bare of leaves and coated in ice. The silence is deafening, and even the wind seems to hold back its howl. There's a strange stillness to the air today, almost as if the entire world is in a suspended state, caught between the past and the future. You push through the snow, your boots sinking into the deeper drifts. It's harder than usual to move, the weight of the snow making each step a little more exhausting than the last. You finally reach the spot where you've been gathering firewood for the past few weeks, and you start to cut the dead branches from the trees, your axe biting into the frozen wood with a satisfying crack. Your thoughts wander as you chop. It's easy to get lost in the rhythm of the task, the repetitive sound of the axe hitting the wood. It's a good way to keep your mind off the things that have been bothering you lately. The way the village seems quieter than before, how the days seem longer, and how every crack of the firewood feels like it's echoing in an empty space. There's a sense that something is changing, though no one will say it aloud. The old people especially keep to themselves more these days, huddling together in quiet conversation. They know things they don't share. When you've gathered enough wood, you load the sled and head back toward the longhouse. The weight of the sled is familiar, but it's a struggle in the deep snow. The journey feels longer than it should, and by the time you return to the village, the cold has crept deep into your bones. Inside, the warmth of the fire greets you, but it doesn't feel as comforting as it once did. The flames crackle softly, sending a faint glow over the room. But there's something in the air, a heaviness that hangs between the people gathered around it. The fire doesn't seem to reach far enough today. You pull off your wet clothes and sit near the hearth, the heat from the fire slowly seeping into your chilled skin. Your mother glances over, her face unreadable, and you notice the subtle furrow in her brow. She doesn't say anything, but you know she's thinking about the same things. There's a tension here, a worry that's spreading like wildfire, but no one speaks of it directly. The village is in a precarious position. The storms, the cold, the increasing silence, it's all a sign that winter is taking its toll. Everyone knows it, they just don't want to say it out loud. The work continues though, and there's always more to be done. The village can't afford to stop. Not now. You sit in silence with your family, the crackle of the fire the only sound. The hours pass slowly, the darkness outside pressing in against the walls. You think about the future. You think about how many winters you'll face before the world warms again. You think about what will happen when you run out of firewood, when the food stores start to dwindle, when the ice is too thick to break. The days are getting shorter, the nights colder, and each task feels a little heavier than the last. You don't know how long you can keep this up. You don't know how much longer you can survive in this endless winter. The weight of the unknown presses on you, but it's something you've learned to live with. By the time the evening meal is served, the village is quieter than usual. The children eat without their usual chatter. The adults speak in low tones, and even the fire seems to burn slower. You can't shake the feeling that something is different, something just out of reach, like a shadow hovering at the edges of your vision, but you don't ask. You don't need to. The silence says it all. Your uncle, the one who always has a story to tell, is unusually quiet tonight. He picks at his food, his eyes distant, and when he finally speaks, His voice is low. "This is a hard winter," he says simply. The words hang heavy in the air and no one argues with him. The fire flickers, casting long shadows across the walls, and the storm outside continues to howl. It's as if the world is testing you, testing everyone. Will you endure? Will you make it through? There's no way to know for sure, not yet. But the cold continues, and you know that no matter what happens, you'll keep going. You'll keep fighting because that's what survival is. It's not about knowing what comes next. It's about keeping your head down, doing the work, and trusting that the world will change in time. But until then, there's more firewood to gather, more food to prepare, and more cold to face. And that's enough for now. The next few days pass in much the same way. The rhythm of life in the village becomes almost hypnotic. Wake up, stoke the fire, gather food, gather firewood, prepare for the next storm. The cold continues its relentless grip on the land, and even though the sun seems to shine a little brighter, it brings no relief. You're learning that winter is less a season and more of a battle that doesn't end until the thaw comes, whenever that may be. It could be months away, and each day brings the same struggle. The tension, though, is palpable. Everyone can feel it in the air, but no one speaks of it directly. Today you're sent to check on the hunting traps. They've been set for days now, and it's time to see if they've caught anything. The sled is loaded up with more tools, more rope, a sharpened spear and a knife, just in case you need to dispatch something quickly. Your father looks at you as you prepare, the weight of the unspoken words between you both thick in the air. He doesn't need to say anything. You know he's thinking of the same thing you've been thinking. Food is getting scarce. The game isn't as plentiful as it used to be. The storms and the cold have driven many animals to the depths of the forest, where it's harder to find them. As you head out, the snow beneath your feet is crunchy, but it's the kind of crunch that comes from cold, frozen ground that hasn't been disturbed in days. The sun is just beginning to rise, casting a pale light over the white landscape. The world is still, and there's a hush in the air, like everything is waiting for something. Your breath comes out in clouds, each exhale disappearing into the frigid morning air. The journey to the traps takes longer today. The snow has hardened further in the cold, and each step feels like more of a challenge. You push through it, though, the cold biting at your skin, but your focus is sharp. You think about the traps, about what you might find. Your mind wanders to the village, to your family, and you can't help but wonder how long you'll be able to keep going like this. When you reach the first trap, you find it empty. No game today. You move on to the second, and the third, and then the fourth. Each trap is untouched, each one a reminder that the world is growing colder, and the animals are retreating even further. You wonder how much longer it will be before the food stores are completely gone. You'll have to rely on hunting more and more, and right now it's not enough. Finally, you reach the last trap, the one furthest from the village. This one's been set along the edge of the forest where the trees grow dense, and it's usually a good spot. When you get there, you stop dead in your tracks. The trap is triggered, but there's nothing caught in it. Instead, you find something else. A large set of footprints in the snow leading off into the trees. The prints are fresh, not more than a few hours old. You crouch down, studying them carefully. They're larger than you expected, much larger. You feel a thrill of something you can't quite name, a mix of excitement and fear. Could it be a wolf? Or perhaps something bigger, something more dangerous? You hesitate, knowing that it's risky to follow the tracks alone, but you're drawn to them, and the thought of returning to the village with nothing doesn't sit well with you. You decide to follow the trail, carefully picking your way through the deep snow, your eyes scanning the trees around you. Every crunch of your boots feels like it's echoing too loudly in the stillness, and your breath comes in sharp bursts. The tracks lead deeper into the forest, and with each step, the sense of unease grows. There's a stillness in the air that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's almost as if the forest itself is holding its breath, watching. You continue, the footprints getting fresher as you go. The trees are thick here, their branches heavy with snow, casting long, dark shadows across the snow-covered ground. The quiet is unnerving, and every snap of a twig underfoot sends a jolt of alarm through you. You try to calm your breathing, but your heart is beating faster now, each beat louder in your ears, and then you see it. Up ahead, a flash of movement. It's fast, a blur through the trees. For a moment you freeze, unsure whether it was real, or just your mind playing tricks on you. But then it happens again. A dark shape moving swiftly through the underbrush. It's too large to be a regular animal, too quick. You feel your pulse quicken and instinctively you grip the spear tighter in your hand. The shape vanishes into the trees again, leaving only a few scattered tracks behind. Your mind races. Was it a bear, a wolf, or something else entirely? You don't know. But the thought of being out here alone with whatever that was sends a chill down your spine. You wait for a moment, listening, trying to decide what to do. The forest feels vast, oppressive, and for the first time in a long, while you feel small and vulnerable, the wind picks up and the snow begins to fall again, soft at first, but then heavier, swirling around you in the gathering dusk. You can barely see through the snow now and you realize that it's time to go back. Reluctantly, you turn around and start making your way back to the village. The tracks you were following now lost under a fresh blanket of snow. Your mind is still racing, your thoughts tangled. What had you seen? And why did it feel so wrong? You don't know, but the forest seems different now. The world outside the village doesn't feel quite so safe anymore. By the time you make it back to the longhouse, the sky has turned a deep purple and the cold is biting. You're exhausted, your legs heavy from the journey, but there's a nagging feeling in the pit of your stomach that won't go away. The village is quieter than usual, and the fire crackles softly in the hearth, but it doesn't offer the same comfort it once did. You have something to report, but you're not sure how to tell them what you've seen, or what you haven't seen. You sit down by the fire, your thoughts still swirling as you try to warm your frozen limbs. Tomorrow will be another day of work, another day of fighting against the cold. But for now, the only thing you can do is rest and wonder about what the forest is hiding. The night comes, and with it, a deeper cold. The fire crackles weakly, its glow barely reaching the farthest corners of the longhouse. The village feels closed in, its walls pressing in on you as you sit near the hearth, your body still cold from the long trek in the snow. The unsettling thoughts you carried from the forest linger, wrapping themselves around your mind. The dark shape you glimpsed in the trees, it's still there, in the back of your thoughts, moving just out of sight. The fire doesn't seem as warm tonight, and the shadows seem to stretch longer. You're not the only one feeling the weight of this unease. Your parents exchange quiet words, their voices low, just above a whisper. They're talking about the same thing you are, though they're careful not to speak too loud, not to give the feeling of panic a voice. Something is wrong. It's not just the cold or the lack of food, though those things are weighing heavily. It's something else, something more insidious. There's a feeling in the air, an undercurrent of fear that has begun to spread through the village. Your uncle, normally the one to bring a light joke or a tale to break the tension, has been eerily quiet. He sits with his back to the fire, staring into the flames as though searching for answers in the shifting glow. His expression is grim, and his usual sense of humor seems to have evaporated with the warmth of the day. Every now and then he looks up, his gaze lingering on you and your family before turning back to the fire. It's as if he's considering something he doesn't want to say out loud. Your mind drifts back to the forest and the strange figure you saw, if it even was a figure. Maybe it was just the wind or the shifting shadows playing tricks on your eyes. But no, it felt too real, too immediate. The forest has always been a place of danger, but now it feels like a place of foreboding, as though something is waiting for you out there, something that has made the woods its home. You try to push the thought away, but it's persistent, like the cold creeping under your skin. Later, when the last of the evening meal is finished and the fire begins to burn low, your father speaks up. His voice is steady, but there's a hardness to it. We need to start thinking about what we'll do if the food runs out. The storms aren't helping. His words hang in the air, unsaid between the lines. The cold is relentless, and the game is scarce. The traps haven't been yielding much, and hunting has become increasingly difficult. You know what he's saying? Even though he doesn't want to admit it fully, survival is becoming a waiting game, and no one knows how long. They can wait. Your father's eyes meet yours, and you understand the weight of his gaze. He's preparing you for something, though he's not sure what. You've heard the stories about families, villages, entire communities lost to the winters not because they didn't fight, but because the cold eventually claimed them, slowly and silently. Your father's expression softens, and for a moment, it feels like the two of you share an understanding, an unspoken bond formed in the knowledge that no matter how hard you try, there are things beyond your control. The fire dims, casting flickering shadows on the walls. You all settle into an uneasy quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. The wind picks up outside, howling against the walls of the longhouse. But inside, the silence feels even louder. The darkness outside presses in, and you know it's not just the storm that's causing it. The next day, as you prepare for another round of chores, the tension in the air is almost palpable. You can feel it in the way people move, in the way their eyes flick nervously toward the trees, the sky, the horizon. There's a sense of urgency, though no one speaks of it directly. The firewood must be gathered, the food stores must be checked again. You and the other children are given simple tasks, things to keep you busy, to keep your minds off the growing uncertainty. But even as you work, you can't shake the feeling that something is changing. The village seems smaller now, the walls more confining. The cold presses against your skin as if it's trying to force its way inside. You feel like you're running out of time, though you can't quite explain why. The elders are talking more quietly now, their conversations hushed, as though the weight of their words could bring down the roof of the longhouse. They've always been the keepers of knowledge, the ones who remember the stories of past winters and survival. But now their stories are quieter, more thoughtful. You catch snippets of their conversations, but they stop when you approach, exchanging looks that speak volumes. The fear in their eyes is hard to miss. They know something is coming, something worse than just the endless cold. Later you head out to the forest again, but this time you're not alone. A few others from the village accompany you, each with the same intent. Gather what you can, check the traps, and maybe, just maybe, find something to bring back to the village. The snow is deeper than before and the wind is relentless, biting at your face and making your breath come in sharp gasps. As you reach the first trap, you feel it again, that strange, gnawing unease. The air feels heavy, thick with something you can't name. The tracks in the snow are fresh, but they don't lead where you expect. You follow them anyway, and as the group moves deeper into the forest, the feeling intensifies. There's something out there. You can't see it, but you can feel it, just at the edges of your awareness. The snow begins to fall harder, swirling around you in a sudden flurry. Visibility is reduced to nothing more than a few feet ahead. You pause, your breath catching in your throat. There, just beyond the trees, you think you see a figure again, dark, shifting, like a shadow amongst shadows. You freeze, your heart pounding. But when you look again, it's gone. You don't speak of it. No one does. The rest of the journey is quiet. The traps remain empty, and the day slips by in tense silence. By the time you return to the village, the sky is dark and the wind is howling again, louder than before. You return to the warmth of the fire, but it doesn't feel the same. The forest is still out there waiting, and you can't shake the feeling that it's not just the winter that's dangerous. As the days stretch on, the weight of the winter seems to grow heavier. Like a thick blanket draped over the village, it presses down on everyone, making simple tasks feel like monumental efforts. The cold never seems to leave, even when the sun peeks through the clouds. The winds howl relentlessly, and the snow continues to pile up in deep drifts, covering the trees, the ground, and even the bones of the village itself. People move more slowly now, more cautiously. Everyone feels the strain. The fear that's been simmering just beneath the surface is now inescapable. There's talk of the storm in the village, though no one dares to say the words out loud. It's not just the weather that's making people anxious, it's something else, something more insidious. You catch snippets of conversations, hushed and nervous, about a strange figure seen near the edges of the forest, moving through the trees with unsettling speed. Some think it's a bear, others a wolf, but the footprints you found in the snow, they weren't like anything you've seen before. They were too large, too strange. The memory of the shadows lurking in the distance sticks with you, gnawing at the edges of your thoughts. The elders continue to meet in secret, their voices low, their faces serious. They've seen this before, the long, drawn-out winters that seem to drain the very life from the land. But there's something more this time. The signs are different. There's something in the air, something beyond the cold. Even your father has begun to speak of it, his words tight with concern. He's always been a man of action, a man who doesn't waste time on worry, but now there's a change in him. It's on one of these quiet evenings that you finally hear it, the first real mention of the strange figure in the forest. Your uncle, usually the most lighthearted, comes to you with a serious expression. His voice is low, barely above a whisper. "There's something out there," he says, glancing over his shoulder as if checking for eavesdroppers. "Something that's been following us." His eyes narrow and his face hardens with something you can't quite place. "We need to be careful." You listen intently, your heart racing in your chest. You've known something's been off, but hearing it confirmed by your uncle, who's usually the one to calm the nerves of others, sends a chill down your spine. You want to ask more? What has he seen? What does he know? But you hold back, knowing that the more questions you ask, the more unsettling the answers might be. The next morning, you find yourself heading out again with a few others to check. The traps, though, today feels different. The air is thick with tension. The wind is biting, colder than before, as if the very air itself has become hostile. Every sound seems amplified. The crunch of snow beneath your boots, the creaking of branches overhead, the distant calls of birds that seem to be too far away for this time of year. The world feels hollow, empty, as though it's holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. As you make your way deeper into the woods, you can't shake the feeling that something is following you. It's subtle at first, a distant rustle in the trees, a faint shift in the shadows, but it grows more persistent. Every now and then you glance over your shoulder, half expecting to see something lurking in the distance, but there's nothing. You try to shake it off, but the unease lingers. You feel eyes on you even though there's no one there. When you reach the first trap, you check it quickly, but it's empty like all the others. You press on, your footsteps crunching in the snow, your breath coming out in sharp bursts. The forest feels bigger now, more imposing. The trees seem to close in on you, their branches heavy with snow, casting long, dark shadows that stretch across the ground. It's easy to get lost in here, to lose your bearings in the maze of white and shadow. The silence is broken by a sudden noise, something snapping in the underbrush just ahead. You freeze, your heart hammering in your chest. You're not alone. You grip your spear tighter, your knuckles white with the pressure. You hold your breath, straining to hear, to catch any sound that might give away what's out there. The noise comes again, this time closer, and you can feel the hair on the back of your neck stand on end. Slowly you start to move forward, careful with each step, the snow beneath your boots creaking under the weight of your movements. Then, out of nowhere, a figure darts across your path, a blur of motion, so fast it's almost impossible to make out what it is. You catch a glimpse of something large, its body moving with unnatural speed through the trees. For a split second you think it's a wolf, but it's too big, too fast. Your mind races, trying to make sense of what you've just seen. Was it the same figure you'd seen before? Or was it something new, something more dangerous? The others are already moving, their eyes scanning the trees, their weapons ready. There's no time to think, only to react. You press forward, adrenaline flooding your system, your senses heightened, and yet the feeling of being hunted grows stronger. Every sound seems amplified now. The wind in the trees, the soft crunch of snow, the distant call of something that might be a wolf or something else. It's as if the forest itself has come alive, and it's watching you. You don't know how long you've been moving, or how far you've gone, but eventually the group slows and you find yourself standing in a small clearing. The snow is deeper here, the trees taller, their trunks gnarled and twisted. It's eerily quiet, the kind of silence that makes your heart race. There are no animal tracks, no signs of life. It's just still. But something about the place feels wrong. It's too still, too quiet. And then, you see it. At the far side of the clearing, partially obscured by the trees, something moves. It's big, larger than anything you've seen before. Its shape dark and undefined. You can't make out the details, but it's there, watching, waiting. Your pulse quickens, and you take a step back, your fingers tightening around the spear. The others don't seem to notice at first, but when they do, their faces turn pale. They start backing away, slowly at first, but then faster as the shape moves. Closer now, closer than you ever imagined. And in that moment, you realize, whatever it is, it's not afraid of you. The figure moves closer, its dark silhouette almost blending with the shadows of the trees. It's unlike anything you've seen before. You can't make out its true form, just a vague outline of something large, something that shifts with an unnerving fluidity, its presence lingering like a fog over the clearing. Your heart pounds in your chest as you take another step back, but it's too late. You've already been seen. There's no way to hide now. The others are backing away, their expressions frozen in terror. No one speaks. There's no need to. The fear in their eyes says it all. You try to steady your breath, to quiet the panic rising in your chest, but the more you look at the shape, the harder it becomes. It feels like time itself has stopped, like the world is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The creature, whatever it is, stays still for a moment as though it's studying you, observing your every move. Its eyes, if they are eyes, are hard to see, but you can feel the weight of its gaze. The longer you stare, the more you sense that it knows you, knows exactly where you are, even in the thick snow. It's an unsettling thought, one that tightens around your chest and makes your limbs feel like lead. Without warning, the creature shifts, moving silently, faster than any animal should move through the snow. In a heartbeat, it's gone, vanishing back into the forest, melting into the shadows as if it were never there. The sudden silence is deafening. For a moment, no one moves. It's as though the world has been paused, waiting to see what will happen next. But the tension in the air is thick, and you know that whatever it was, it's still out there. It hasn't left. It's just waiting. You glance at the others, and their faces are pale, their eyes wide with shock. No one knows what to say, what to do. Everyone is too afraid to speak, too afraid to break the fragile bubble of silence that's settled around you. You can feel it, a presence, an oppressive weight that hangs over the clearing. You know it's not over yet. "Let's go," your uncle finally says, his voice barely a whisper, hoarse from fear. He's the first to move, turning slowly, his eyes never leaving the trees, as if expecting the creature to appear at any moment. One by one, the others follow suit, backing away cautiously, their eyes scanning the shadows for any movement. You can't shake the feeling that the creature is still watching, that its eyes are on you, hidden just beyond the trees. You're almost back to the village when the wind picks up again, swirling around you with greater intensity. It's as if the weather itself is mirroring the unease you feel inside. The snow is falling harder now, thick flakes that blur the world into a haze of white and gray. Every step feels heavier than the last, as if the forest itself is trying to pull you back in. When you finally make it back to the village, the cold is almost unbearable. You hurry into the warmth of the longhouse, but the chill in your bones remains, gnawing at you from the inside. The others are already gathered around the fire, their faces drawn with exhaustion and fear. The room feels smaller now, the walls pressing in on you as if the very air is thicker with tension. You sit down by the fire, but the warmth feels distant, not enough to ease the cold creeping up your spine. You glance around, trying to make sense of what happened, but no one speaks. Everyone is lost in their own thoughts, their own fears. The elders, too, are quiet, their usual comforting words replaced with solemn silence. You can see the worry in their eyes, hear the unspoken questions that hang in the air. The shadows in the corners of the room seem to stretch longer, darker, as if the forest outside is trying to creep in. You shiver despite the warmth of the fire. You wonder how long it will be before the creature returns, or if it ever left at all. As the night drags on, you try to settle into the familiar rhythm of life, the quiet murmur of voices, the soft crackle of the fire. But the unease won't leave you. You can still feel the eyes of the creature on you, can still hear its presence in the rustling of the wind outside, in the eerie silence of the night. It's like a dark cloud hanging over everything, casting its shadow on the village, on your thoughts, on your very soul. The next few days pass in a haze of exhaustion and dread. The forest feels different now. It's no longer a place of mystery or adventure. Now it feels like a trap, a place where something hunts, waits, and watches. You don't want to go back, but you know you must. The traps still need to be checked. The firewood still needs to be gathered. The village depends on you, and you won't let them down. But each time you step outside, you feel it. The unease. The knowledge that the creature is still out there, moving through the trees, watching you. The air itself feels thicker now, colder, as if it too has been touched by the thing that haunts the forest. You wonder how long you can keep going, how long you can survive under this weight of fear. You've heard the stories of villages swallowed up by the cold, of families lost to the darkness. You never thought you'd be living one of those stories, but here you are, caught in the grip of something far worse than the cold. The feeling of being watched never leaves. No matter where you go, it's a constant presence lingering at the edges of your awareness, a shadow that follows you no matter how fast you run. It's always there, waiting, watching. And the worst part is, you don't know if you'll ever escape it. Days continue to slip by, indistinguishable from one another in their frozen monotony. You've almost become numb to the cold, the biting wind that cuts through your layers of furs, the snow that never seems to stop falling, piling up higher and higher with each passing day. The fire inside the longhouse is a constant companion, crackling and hissing, its warmth a small comfort against the relentless chill of the outside world. Yet something is different now. The village feels quieter, heavier. The echoes of laughter, the familiar chatter around the fire, have all but disappeared. The tension in the air is palpable, thick, like the smoke that rises from the hearth. You've all been on edge ever since. The creature appeared, but now it's as though the entire village is holding its breath, waiting for something. It's the kind of silence that feels like it could snap at any moment, breaking the fragile peace that remains. You've started to avoid the forest altogether. The thought of stepping into that dark, silent space sends a shiver down your spine. Every time you venture close to the trees, you feel it. The sensation of being watched, the cold weight of unseen eyes tracking your every move. It's not just fear anymore. It's something deeper, more primal. It's as if the forest itself has turned against you, become a place of danger, a place where you are no longer welcome. But despite your fear, the chores must be done. The traps need checking. The firewood needs gathering. The village must survive, and you are no exception. You can't afford to let the cold or the creature or even your own fear keep you from fulfilling your duties. On one of these forays into the woods, you find yourself walking with your uncle, the one who first spoke of the thing that watches. He's quieter now than usual, his steps slow and deliberate, his eyes darting around as if expecting something to emerge from the trees at any moment. The usual bravado that once characterized his presence is gone, replaced by an air of caution. Even he, one of the toughest men in the village, seems affected by the unease that has settled over everything. You're halfway to the edge of the forest when you hear it again. A faint rustling, a sound like something moving just beyond the trees. Your heart skips a beat, and instinctively, you grip your spear tighter. Your uncle stops dead in his tracks, his head turning sharply towards the noise. For a long moment, neither of you moves. The air is thick with tension, as if the world itself is waiting for the next sound to break the silence. Then it comes, a low growl, barely audible, but unmistakable. Your uncle's face pales, and his eyes flick to you, wide with fear. It's a sound that sends a chill down your spine, something you've never heard before, a noise that feels unnatural. You can see the fear in his eyes, and for the first time you realize that he's not just worried about the creature. It's more than that. He's afraid of what it represents, of what it means for everyone in the village. You take a step forward, heart pounding, mind racing. The growl comes again, closer this time. You can feel it in your bones now, a deep rumbling sound that seems to vibrate the very air around you. There's no mistaking it. Whatever is out there is big, and it's angry. Stay close, your uncle murmurs, his voice tight with tension. We need to get back to the village, now. But even as he speaks, you can hear it. The sound of something large moving through the snow, its massive form crashing through the underbrush. You glance around, trying to make sense of the noise, but everything is too still, too quiet. The wind has died down, the snow has stopped falling, and the forest feels like a living, breathing thing, its eyes locked on you. Then, through the trees, you see it, a shadow, darker than the rest of the forest. For a moment, it's just a flicker, barely visible between the trunks of the trees, but it's there. And then, it's gone, disappearing into the white, vanishing before your eyes. Your uncle doesn't wait. He grabs your arm and pulls you with him, moving faster now, his steps more urgent. You follow him, your breath coming in short bursts, your heart thumping in your chest. The weight of the creature's presence presses down on you. The sense that you're being followed, that it's watching you, that it's getting closer with every step. Your eyes dart back to the trees, half expecting the creature to burst through. The snow at any moment to leap from the shadows and attack. The fear is almost suffocating now. A heavy cloak draped over your shoulders, making every step feel like an effort. But still you push forward. You can't stop now. The village is so close. When you finally make it back, the air is thick with tension. People gather at the edge of the village, their faces etched with worry. The elders are speaking in low voices, their words too quiet to hear, but the looks on their faces are enough to tell you everything you need to know. Something is coming. Something is about to happen, and no one is ready for it. Your uncle pulls you aside, his grip on your arm tight. Listen, he says, his voice low. Whatever's out there, it's not just hunting for food. It's hunting us. It knows we're here, and it won't stop until it's taken what it wants. His words send a chill through your spine, and for the first time, you realize the full weight of what you're up against. This isn't just a matter of surviving the cold. This is something much darker, much more dangerous. The creature that lurks in the forest is not just an animal. It's something else, something older, something that has been waiting, watching, and now, it's ready to strike. The thought sits heavy in your chest, a knot of fear that refuses to loosen. You don't know what will happen next, but you know one thing for certain. You can't hide from this. The village is alive with whispers now, hushed conversations that spread like wildfire through the longhouse. The fire crackles on the hearth, but the warmth it offers seems shallow, useless against the chill in the air, the coldness of uncertainty that has taken hold of everyone. The shadows seem darker tonight, stretching long across the walls, creeping into every corner of the room, and no one seems willing to break the silence. You sit with the others, your mind still reeling from the encounter in the woods. Your heart is racing as you replay the moment over and over in your head. What was it? What did you see in the trees? The memory lingers like a thick fog, clouding your thoughts, and no matter how hard you try, you can't shake the image of that dark shadow moving just beyond your sight. But there's no time to dwell on it. People are already gathering their weapons, preparing for whatever comes next. The elders are making quiet decisions, their faces grim as they confer in low voices. You don't know the full details, but you know this. Something is coming. The Yao creature is no longer a myth or a whisper in the night. It is real and it is hunting. You glance at your uncle who stands by the fire, his expression hard and unreadable. He catches your gaze and nods as if to reassure you. But you see the tension in his shoulders, the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. He too is afraid. The difference between him and the others is that he knows how to hide it. We can't. Stay here, he says suddenly, his voice low but firm. The village is too exposed. We need to move. There's a murmur of agreement from the others, but not everyone looks convinced. Some are reluctant to leave the warmth of the fire, the familiar safety of the longhouse. Others are too scared to move at all, their fear freezing them in place. But you can see it in their eyes. They know deep down that this is the only choice they have. The elders step forward, their faces serious, their eyes filled with years of wisdom. They don't speak, but their presence is enough. They've seen things that can't be explained, things that have left their mark on the world. They know what must be done. It's only a matter of convincing everyone else. The decision is made. It's time to leave. But it's not an easy thing to do. The village, though small, has been your home for as long as you can remember. The hearth, the familiar scent of cooking food, the laughter of children playing in the snow. It's all part of you, part of the life you've built here. And now, it's all being taken away, bit by bit, as you prepare to leave behind the only place that has ever felt safe. The villagers begin to gather their things, their faces drawn and tired. There's no time for farewells, no time for anything other than survival. You take only what you can carry, the basics: food, furs, a few weapons. It's all you need to survive out there, in the wilderness. The rest will have to be left behind. As the last of the villagers gather, you head out into the night, your breath visible in the cold air. The stars are obscured by thick clouds and the wind picks up again, swirling around you like an invisible force, making everything seem even more foreboding. The snow crunches beneath your boots, but the sound feels muffled, swallowed up by the vastness of the wilderness that stretches out before you. There's no clear path. No one knows exactly where to go, only that they can't stay here any longer. The village is no longer safe, and the forest, once a place of adventure, is now a place of danger, a place where you can be hunted. The cold is sharp, biting into your skin, and the wind howls like a ghost, a constant reminder that you are no longer in control. You follow your uncle's lead, staying close to him as he picks his way through the snow. There's no conversation. No one has the energy for words. The only sound is the wind, the crunch of footsteps, and the occasional rustling of snow-covered branches. It feels like a dream, like you're walking through a fog, and at times you wonder if you've really left the village at all, or if this is just some terrible nightmare you can't wake up from. The hours drag on, stretching out as the night deepens. Your body aches from the cold and your mind grows tired with each passing step. There's no comfort in the world anymore. You're surrounded by shadows, by the ever-present reminder that something is out there, watching, waiting for you to slip up. You don't know how long you walk. The darkness is absolute now, broken only by the faint light of the lanterns carried by the villagers. The snow seems to deepen with every step, making it harder to move forward, harder to see. You can feel the weight of the night pressing down on you, thick and suffocating. The wind blows harder, and you can't escape the feeling that you're being hunted that something is out there closing in on you. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierces the silence, a sound so unnatural, so chilling that it freezes you in your tracks. It's a sound you've never heard before, a scream that seems to reverberate through the very air itself. You can feel it in your chest, the echo of it vibrating through your bones. The villagers stop dead, fear flashing in their eyes. Even, your uncle's face pales at the sound. There's no question now. The creature is here. The hunt has begun. The air feels colder now, the darkness thicker, as if the very earth is holding its breath. The echo of the cry still lingers in your ears, and the silence that follows it is even worse. It presses in on you, suffocating you with its stillness. Your heart beats loudly in your chest, matching the rhythm of your quickened breath. Every sound, every rustle feels amplified, like it could be the creature, just waiting to pounce. You turn to look at your uncle, but his face is ashen, his jaw tight with fear. He doesn't speak, but you can see it in his eyes. The creature is close. He knows it as much as you do. The others around you are tense, their faces drawn with anxiety, their hands gripping weapons with white knuckles. No one dares to speak, but the fear in the air is thick enough to cut through. The cry comes again, this time closer, and your blood runs cold. There's no mistaking it now. Whatever that thing is, it's hunting you. The sound is unnerving, low, guttural, almost animalistic, but somehow more than that. It sends shivers down your spine, and you can feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Move, your uncle says suddenly, his voice sharp, cutting through the tension. We need to keep moving. You don't hesitate. Without a word, you follow him, your boots crunching in the snow, the sound seeming unbearably loud in the still night. The others follow close behind, their footsteps muffled by the thick snow. The village is far behind now, swallowed up by the cold, but the creature is still out there. And that thought burns in your mind, making your pace quicken. The wind is picking up, swirling around you like a living thing. It howls through the trees, pushing against you, trying to slow you down, to force you to stop. But you keep moving, driven by the instinct to survive. The forest feels oppressive now. The trees close and dark, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The shadows are deep, and you can't shake the feeling that something is watching you, lurking just beyond the range of the dim lantern light. The snow is deeper here, and it becomes harder to walk. Every step is a struggle, the snow dragging at your feet, pulling you down. You can feel the cold seeping into your bones, draining your strength. But still, you push forward. There's no turning back now. If you stop, if you falter, you know the creature will find you. The cry comes again, this time a shriek of pure agony, and it echoes through the trees, bouncing off the distant cliffs. It's followed by a rustling, louder this time, like something moving quickly through the underbrush. Your uncle looks over his shoulder, his eyes narrowing as he scans the trees. You do the same, but there's nothing there. Just the wind, the snow, and the shadows. But the feeling is unmistakable. It's close. A moment later, the underbrush to your right explodes into motion, and the creature emerges from the dark, its massive form crashing through the snow with terrifying speed. It's a blur of fur and teeth, a shape that defies all understanding. It's like nothing you've ever seen, its eyes glowing a sickly yellow, its body covered in thick, matted fur that blends with the snow, making it nearly impossible to track. It's almost impossibly large, like a bear, but there's something wrong about it, something wrong in the way it moves. Panic erupts in the group, and you hear the shout of your uncle as he pushes you forward. "Run!" he commands, his voice urgent and sharp with fear. You don't need any more encouragement. You turn and sprint, the snow flying up around your feet as you force your legs to move faster, faster than you ever thought possible. The others are ahead of you, but you don't dare. Look back. You can hear it, the creature moving behind you with an unsettling speed. It's gaining on you, its growls growing louder, closer. The path ahead is treacherous, and you can barely see through the snowstorm that has suddenly picked up. The wind whips at your face, blinding you, but you keep going. Your heart pounds. In your chest, your breath coming in quick gasps as you push yourself harder, further, trying to outrun the nightmare that's closing in on you. Then, the ground shifts beneath your feet. You slip. Your boot slides in the snow, and for a moment you feel yourself falling. The world tilts, the ground disappearing, and you crash to the earth, your body hitting the cold ground hard. The wind is knocked from your lungs, and for a moment you can't move. You can't breathe. The creature is close now, So close you can feel its presence behind you, hear its labored breath, the growl that vibrates through the snow. Panic surges in your chest as you scramble to get up, but the cold is holding you down. The snow, the weight of everything pressing on you, and then you hear a voice. It's faint, distant, but unmistakable. Your uncle. Get up. Get up now. You push yourself to your feet, your legs shaking from the effort. You don't know how you manage it, but you force yourself to move again. Stumbling forward, your heart racing, your mind screaming at you to run, to survive. The others are ahead, but the creature is getting closer. You hear its heavy footfalls behind you, and you know it's almost there. You don't dare look back, you can't afford to waste a second. The village is far behind and you're running out of time. But suddenly a blast of light cuts through the darkness. It's not much, just a flicker, but it's enough. The creature hesitates. You hear it growl again, but it doesn't charge. Instead, it retreats, backing away into the darkness. You don't know what's happening, but you don't stop to figure it out, you just keep running. The light grows brighter, and then you see it. The village. You've made it. You've survived. For now. As the village looms into view, relief crashes into you like a wave, almost too strong to handle. The sight of the flickering fires and the familiar outlines of the longhouses is the first glimpse of safety you've had in what feels like an eternity. The air is still bitterly cold, but the warmth of the village, though distant, pulls you in like a magnet. Your breath comes in ragged gasps. Your legs feel like they might collapse beneath you, but the adrenaline still courses through your veins, driving you forward, one step after another. Your uncle is ahead of you, moving quickly despite his age and the weight of his years. His eyes are focused, scanning the area, alert to any movement around him. The others are close behind, their faces etched with fear and exhaustion, but they push forward too. There's no turning back now. They've seen what's out there and there's no denying it. The creature is real and it's hunting them all. As you near the village, you hear voices calling out from the gates, people shouting in alarm, asking, "What's happened? What's going on?" It's chaos, but there's a certain order to it too. People moving swiftly to close the gates, to arm themselves, to prepare for the worst. You can feel the panic rising in the air like smoke, thick and choking, but you can't afford to stop now. "Quick, inside!" Your uncle barks at you, his voice sharp with urgency. You don't need to be told twice. You push forward, the gates now within reach, the sense of safety growing stronger with every step. The guard at the entrance is already there, pulling the heavy wooden doors open just enough for you to slip through. You pass through, the cold air briefly cutting off as the gates close behind you with a heavy thud. You pause for a moment to catch your breath, your back pressed against the wall of the village, your chest heaving as you try to steady your breathing. The others trickle in behind you, their faces drawn with exhaustion, fear, and something darker, an understanding that what they've just seen is only the beginning. Inside, the village is in a frenzy. People are huddled together, discussing what to do, what comes next. The elders are already at work, calling the shots, organizing the defenses, directing people to their posts. The air is thick with tension, every conversation a hushed murmur, and you can sense that no one quite knows what to expect. Your uncle steps forward, taking charge as he always does, but even he is shaken. He's not the kind of man who gets rattled easily, but tonight, something in him has changed. You can see it in the way he stands, in the tightness of his jaw, in the way he scans the crowd as if looking for something or someone. "We need to be ready for anything," he says, his voice low but filled with authority. "The creature is out there and it will come for us. We can't afford to make mistakes." He turns to you, his gaze serious. "Get some rest. We need to be sharp when morning comes. It might be quiet for now, but don't let your guard down." You nod, your body still trembling from the exertion of the run, but there's no time to relax, no time to stop moving. You follow your uncle's instructions, finding a quiet corner of the longhouse to settle into. The fires are crackling, the warmth from them slowly seeping into your frozen bones, but the fear still lingers. It's hard to relax when you know that something ancient and dangerous is out there lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next move. The hours stretch on as the village prepares for the coming battle. The darkness outside is impenetrable, but there's no hiding from the fear that fills the air. The villagers have banded together, drawn closer by the shared knowledge that survival depends on working as one. But deep down, everyone knows the truth. They're not just fighting for survival, they're fighting for their very lives. As the night wears on, you finally find a moment to sit and collect your thoughts. It's hard to keep your mind focused, to silence the storm of thoughts and fears that swirl in your head. You keep hearing that growl, that guttural sound, echoing in your mind, and no matter how hard you try, you can't shake the feeling that the creature is still out there watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. You glance at the others around you, men and women, old and young, some sharpening weapons, others sitting in silent prayer, preparing for what's to come. There's a quiet desperation in their eyes, a fear that's hard to disguise, but there's also something else. You can see it in the way they work together, the way they share what little food they have left, the way they offer silent support to one another. In the face of this overwhelming threat, there's strength too. As you sit there waiting, you can't help but wonder how you got here. How did the village that once seemed so safe, so secure, become a place of fear and danger? How did the forest, the land you've always known, become a battleground? A place where even the bravest of warriors can't hide from what stalks in the shadows. Your thoughts are interrupted by a loud bang from outside, followed by a chorus of shouts. The gates are rattling, the sound of something heavy crashing against them. It's the creature. It's come for you. You scramble to your feet, your heart racing. The village is awake now, the quiet broken by the sound of weapons being drawn, the clatter of armor being hastily donned. You follow your uncle as he moves to the front, the flickering firelight casting shadows on the walls as the villagers prepare to face the creature. Whatever it is. Outside, the growls are louder now, close enough that you can feel the vibration in the ground beneath your feet. The creature is no longer hiding. It's come for the village, and it won't stop until it gets what it wants. The battle for survival is about to begin. The gates groan as something heavy slams into them once more, sending a shockwave through the village. The distant howl of the wind is drowned by the shrill screeches and growls of the creature, growing nearer with each passing moment. You feel the tremors beneath your feet and hear the frantic shuffling of villagers, all rushing to ready themselves for the fight ahead. Your uncle's grip on your arm tightens, and you can see the tension in his face. For all his years of experience, there's a look in his eyes you haven't seen before, a fear not of the creature itself, but of what it means for the survival of the village. You stand beside him, your own heart pounding in your chest, your breath shallow as the fear that has been building all night surges to the forefront. The sounds outside intensify, the pounding at the gates becoming louder, more forceful. We hold the gates no matter what, your uncle commands, his voice low and steady, trying to mask the anxiety beneath it. You nod silently, grasping your weapon. The fear is still there, lingering, but it's joined now by something else. Determination. The creature might be terrifying, but you won't let it break you. You won't let it break this village, the people who have become your family, your home. You know that you can't face it alone, but together you stand a chance. As you follow your uncle to the main entrance, you pass through the longhouse, seeing the nervous faces of the other villagers. Some are tending to their weapons, others whispering prayers. The elders are at the center of the crowd, speaking in low voices, offering their wisdom and calming those who are trembling in fear. You catch a glimpse of one of the children, no older than 8 or 9, holding tightly to a woman's skirt, her eyes wide with terror. You want to reach out, to comfort her, but you know that right now, everyone must be strong. There's no room for weakness, not when the creature is at the gates. The moment you step outside, the cold hits you like a slap to the face. The wind is biting, cutting through your clothes, but you barely notice it. Your eyes are fixed on the gates, which are now shaking violently with every strike from the creature. The villagers are already in position, forming a tight line along the wooden barricades, weapons in hand, prepared to face whatever comes. You can hear it now, the unmistakable sound of something large and heavy moving through the snow. The growls are closer, more distinct. The creature is no longer hiding in the shadows, it's charging straight for you. Then you see it. The massive shape emerges from the darkness, its eyes glowing with an eerie yellow light. It's like a twisted blend of wolf and bear, its fur matted and dark, covered in frost. Its teeth glisten like daggers, sharp and cruel, and its body is almost too large to comprehend. It moves with unnatural speed, its powerful limbs pounding the earth, making the ground shake beneath you. For a split second, you freeze. The sheer size of the creature is overwhelming, and for just an instant, the fight-or-flight instinct takes over. But before you can even think about running, your uncle shouts, breaking the spell. "Focus," he orders. his voice ringing out across the village. "We stand together." His command snaps you back to reality. You grip your weapon tighter, the fear still clawing at you, but now it's replaced with something else, purpose. The creature is only one thing, danger, but you have the village, and you have each other. You're not alone. The gates creak, again, and the creature's massive form rams into them with a thunderous crash, nearly splintering the wood. The force of the impact sends villagers stumbling back, but they hold their ground. The creature roars, a terrible sound that echoes through the village, making the ground tremble. You can see it now, fully revealed in the dim light, its claws scraping against the gates as it prepares for another assault. Your uncle steps forward, his face grim but resolute. He turns to you, his eyes meeting yours. "Stay with me. We fight, as one." You nod, your body tense, your mind racing with 1,000 thoughts, but one thing stands out: survival. This is your home, your people, and you will defend it. You raise your weapon, your hand steady, your breath steadying too as you prepare for the battle ahead. With a deafening crack, the creature hits the gates again, and this time, the wood splinters. The gap between the gates widens, just enough for the creature to push through. It roars in triumph, its eyes locked on the villagers who stand bravely before it. The battle begins, but the villagers are not without their own strength. They charge forward, weapons raised high, shouting battle, cries that ring out across the snow-covered landscape. The clash of metal against fur and bone is deafening, the sound of the struggle filling the air as the creature fights with an unholy ferocity. You're in the thick of it now, the chaos and fear swirling around you, but you focus on the task at hand. Each swing of your weapon, each thrust is a step toward survival. The creature is powerful, but so are you. The ground is slippery beneath you, the snow making each movement more difficult. But you push forward, fighting with everything you have. Through the chaos, you catch sight of your uncle, his face determined as he leads the charge, rallying the villagers with each swing of his axe. He's a blur of movement, his experience and strength guiding the others. The creature roars again, but this time it's not the sound of victory. It's the sound of desperation. The villagers are pushing it back. The creature falters for a moment, and that's all you need. With a fierce cry, you leap forward, your weapon raised, and strike. The creature howls in pain, but it's not enough to stop it. It turns toward you, its eyes filled with fury, its claws reaching out to strike. But before it can make contact, your uncle is there, his axe slicing through the air and landing a powerful blow. The creature stumbles back, wounded, and in that moment, the villagers surge forward, a unified force pushing the creature back with everything they've got. It's not over yet. But for the first time, you feel a glimmer of hope. The creature is not invincible. Together you can win this. The battle rages on, but you know one thing for certain. You're not going down without a fight. The hours stretch long into the night. The battle is exhausting, but with every swing of your weapon, you feel your resolve strengthening. The creature, though fierce, begins to tire, its monstrous roars becoming more strained, less certain. The villagers, fueled by determination and the desperation to protect their homes, press on, refusing to let the creature win. Every step forward feels like a triumph, no matter how small. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the creature falters. It's as if it knows its time is running out, that the villagers will not give up. The fight drags on, but victory is in sight. Slowly, but surely, the creature retreats, its once powerful roars replaced with the sound of its retreating steps. And with that, the village stands victorious. The gates are battered and splintered, the snow stained with marks of the battle, but the village is safe, for now. The villagers gather in the center of the longhouse, exhausted, their faces smeared with blood and dirt, but their spirits high. There's a moment of quiet, a collective sigh of relief as the reality of their survival sinks in. You sit among them, your body aching but your heart full. There's no time to rest just yet, not when there's still work to be done, repairs to be made, the fallen to mourn. But for a brief moment, the adrenaline ebbs away, and the warmth of the fire in the hearth becomes a balm for your soul. You've survived, and that's all that matters. As the last of the adrenaline fades, you allow yourself to settle into the quiet of the longhouse. The future is uncertain, but in this moment, surrounded by those who fought alongside you, you know one thing: you're not alone, and that makes all the difference. Sweet dreams.